What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. I am your host, Love Coach Scott Katamas, and welcome to the Awakening World, our Saturday night edition. And Saturday night is always where we bring in music as well as fascinating guests. And like the video said, we're here to inform and inspire and help us all as part of this amazing time on this planet where we're all awakening. And we have with us some really amazing guests tonight that are very much in the forefront of awakening, of bringing in consciousness. A number of people that are very intuitive and psychic, as well as some of our favorite musical guests. So it's going to be a wonderful show. Now, I want to welcome everybody that's in our Zoom room. I see already we've got a lot of our favorite regular friends, as well as some new friends and people. Let us know where you are geographically. And I see already we have people from Mexico and Australia, British Columbia, Ecuador. So that's pretty exciting. I also want to welcome all of you who are watching on Facebook or on Alan Steinfeld's YouTube channel or on the Global Peace Tribe YouTube channel. And a big thanks to John and Summer Raymer, who get us out over the Sign Network. That's what gets us to 100 Facebook groups and pages. So thank you, John and Summer, and thank you everybody who's hosting us. We appreciate that. Now, I want to encourage those of you who are watching on Facebook or YouTube, you might want to come directly into our Zoom room, especially because tonight you're going to have a chance to ask questions of some of the amazing people that are with us. And it's really easy to come on into our Zoom room. Go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com, and you'll see right here where it says register for the new season, and that's this season right now. And you're going to get the links, not just for tonight, you'll get the links for all of our shows for the rest of the year. And we do 3 shows every weekend, one on Friday night. Like last night, we had Montauk Chia with us, which was really an amazing experience. Of course, tonight, you've got all these beautiful psychics, intuitives, and musical artists. And then tomorrow, our Sacred Sunday show. So come on in, join us, register with us. It's a really, really fun group of people. And we're all building this amazing community together. Tonight, I'm blessed to have 2 co-hosts. You'll be hearing a lot from my good friend, Alan Steinfeld. And Alan, of course, is the author of Making Contact and the guy who runs New Realities. Your YouTube channel is up to 100, you hit 100,000, right?
No, 80,000, but 20 million views, 20 million total views. So
that's amazing. That is amazing. Absolutely. Congratulations. Congratulations, Alan. That's really, really cool. My other co-host today is Krista Collins. And there she is. And
hello.
Good to have you back with us, Krista.
Such a pleasure to be here with you and Ellen and the entire Global Peace Tribe. It's just an honor and a pleasure, and I'm excited to dive deep into all these amazing topics tonight around psychic and intuitive abilities. Yes, here we go.
And we asked Krista because she herself is quite psychic and intuitive. So we love our musicians. One of our favorite musical artists is Johanna Beekman. And there she is. You've seen her on the show before. She's also co-hosted. And here she is back, radiant from the Bhakti Love reunion. Good to have you,
Scott. Where's that unmute button? I found it. It's been a minute since I was on these virtual platforms, since I was out running the real world festival life, and it was.
How is it like real gigs, like stages and live audiences again?
Like amazing, Scott. We had a main stage bowl, and we had 5 other event spaces that were popping off the entire weekend, and people were hungry. They loved it. They felt fulfilled. We had a guy with a spiritual awakening that wanted to give back. Like all of the good things were happening, and we were all there for the heart and devotion of it. So that was the really most profound thing, is that people were actually receiving the benefit of being together and really drinking that up, that nectar of when we're actually within these heart realms and practicing in a physical field. Like, this is amazing, Scott. You've emulated it very well. This is an incredible community. And there's just nothing like real life on some days, you know? So it was amazing. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. Thanks for being back with us. Speaking of musical artists, we have our house musician. There he is. Took him by surprise.
Oh, yeah, I know. I was doing stuff. Aloha and namaste, everybody. Welcome to a beautiful evening. Nice to be here.
We have all these wonderful psychic intuitive people, including my dear friend, Guinevere Bridge. There she is. And Guinevere, hey. You've seen her on the show. She's come on as different amazing beings over the time, including Saraswati. But here, she's here as Guinevere. So good to have you with us.
I'm here with me.
And some of our other guests, our other psychic and intuitives, include Karen Frances McCarthy, who you've also making her second appearance on The Awakening World. Good to have you back with us.
Great to be here.
And we also have Henrietta Weeks coming to us from San Miguel de Allende. Hello, Henrietta.
Hi, Scott. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here.
Good to have you back with us.
Great.
And from just up the road from where I am in the Bay Area, here's Julie Green. Hi, Julie.
Hi, everyone. So lovely to be here. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
And John Martin just showed up. I'm just seeing him here. And John is also one of our favorite people on this show. We just recently honored him as an unsung hero in our first Unsung Hero show. He will be playing some music, and he'll also be showing some of the beautiful, beautiful videos. John, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Scott. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight.
It's always, and you've had some recent sightings?
Oh, sure, absolutely. One video is from this week, and then I made a kind of a compilation video of one style of craft that come a lot to me, the really fast craft. They're actually winged craft, but they're really amazing. So I've got 2 videos for you today.
Fantastic. Looking forward to seeing those.
Thanks.
And then our other guest, there she is Marla Lombard. Hello, Marla.
Hi, how are you, Scott? Thank you so much for having me. And hello to Alan, my dear friend.
Yes, I'm so happy Marla's here because she's going to outline principles that we're going to be talking about. So, yes. Beautiful.
Well, speaking of Alan, he's one of my oldest friends. He and I have been working together. There he is. I first met him in Maui. I was shooting a movie that I had written and produced, and Alan was there. He thought he was going to rest and take a vacation. We needed an assistant director. He jumped in, did a great job, and we've been collaborating in wonderful ways. And that was back in 1989.
I know. Scott, we've been together. Our paths are crossed off and on. I'm sleeping in a tent. I was working in the film business in New York. I left just to take a vacation, and a film crew shows up at my doorstep, really my 10th step. And Scott says, "You want a job?" Well, I'm living in paradise, and Yeah, I'll make some money in paradise. So, and it was fun. It was a great film, and Scott wrote it and produced it, and it was a really great experience. So
Yeah.
here we are. So should I talk?
Yeah. Tell us about what we're doing tonight.
Well, I got some of my favorite friends here because these are psychics, intuitives, empaths, because like it's become like a dentist. Like, who's your dentist? Who's your psychic? That's how mainstream this whole field is becoming. And we are at a threshold of a new time where something else in the collective psyche is waking up. So it's not like, oh, these are psychics and special people. No, they've just learned to play the piano better, or maybe sooner than other people, but we're all psychic. We're all have access to the non-local mind. And when I teach remote viewing, it's like, wow, everyone can do this because we're all connected. And that's the vibrational shift that we are now in as an awakening world, Scott. So it's a great name because awakening means awakening to the gifts, it's really divine gifts. When you are open up to these other realms, you're bringing in, or you becoming more of who we are. We are multidimensional. We are existing on many levels at once. And the people here have somehow accessed those worlds much easier, or like in Marla's case, she was just riding on a bus in New York City, but it's boom, the window opened. But that's where we're moving into. We're moving into an awakening world where we're all have access to these divine gifts. So I'm really excited about what's going to be shared here tonight.
Beautiful. And thank you, Alan, for Alan collaborates with me and helps create, well, every 2 or 3 months we do a show together. And so thank you for bringing some of your friends on with us tonight.
We did some great ET UFO shows. So thank you in promoting my book and putting out this next level of awakening. It's really exciting. So thanks for
more to come. Hey, you know, you mentioned it's full moon. And so I want to acknowledge that. And as I introduce our dear friend, Johanna Beekman, you know, we always like to start with music and kind of, especially it's Saturday night, but not only is it Saturday night, Johanna, it's a full moon Saturday night.
It is a full moon tonight. I ran into some goddess friends earlier at the farmer's market, and they're like, we're going into the woods. It's time. You know, and I'm like, you know, these only my friends, right? Only our friends. Right?
Our friends.
Our friends. We are in this tribe of people who are really tuned in, as he was just speaking about. And it is because we're all connected. And this is a song about that. So, want to hear it?
Absolutely. Here we go.
Awesome. So this is a remix of a song off of my Heartbeats One album called Heartbeats One. And I'm putting out an album with, we'll talk about it later, pretty soon with this producer. My heart beats one. Your heart beats one. This heart beats one. Our hearts beat as one. In our short, sweet lives, we're all searching for the light, the same light that makes trees thrive. Our roots grow down, branches reach for the sky. I know inside that we're all the same inside. My heart beats one. Sing it with me. Your heart beats one. This heart beats one. Our hearts beat as one when we reach within, deep beneath blood and skin. Yeah, your reflection is my own. Into love we grow. We share the same heart, the same the same love, and I know my heart beats one. Your heart beats one. This heart beats one. Our hearts beat as one. Beats one. Your heart beats one. This heart beats one. Our hearts beat as one. Feel the heartbeat, be the heartbeat. Share the heartbeat of the world. Feel the heartbeat, be the heartbeat. Share the heartbeat of the world. Share the heartbeat of the world. Feel the heartbeat, be the heartbeat. Share the heartbeat of the world. Sing it with me. Your heart beats one. This heart beats one. Our hearts beat as one. My heart beats one. Your heart beats one. This heart beats one. Our hearts beat as one. Yay.
That was perfect. I loved how everybody got into it. You had everybody singing and dancing, and people were putting their hearts up and all that kind of thing. So
That's what happens with the Bhakti love and the love train that I subscribe to. I
absolutely.
decided not to sing about anything but love unless it's in Sanskrit. So I've got like 5 songs that have love in the title and the top of my Spotify right now.
I love
So
that.
go check them out.
All right. Well, speaking of which, a wonderful way to check out is her website. And it's very easy. It's johannasings.com. Put that in the chat box for everybody. And she's everywhere. She's on Spotify. And there's the song we just heard, Heartbeats One. So if you go to her website, lots of opportunities to get her on Spotify, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, iTunes. And are you still doing lullaby yoga?
I am still doing lullaby yoga. We have a little bit of a hiccup in this lullaby yoga 5 days to come home to you right now. So wait until Monday to buy it, but it is there.
Okay. I always think that's so cool. I mean, you've got a million things to promote, but I always love talking about the lullaby yoga.
Oh, people love that. It's just a total nervous system reset. I sing to you. We do sound healing and I sing in sacred mantras as well as English to just totally nurture our nervous system, which needs it so much.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Johanna's going to be back for another song in a little while, so we'll see more of Johanna soon. Thank you, dear.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
So I'm going to go to my other co-host, Krista Collins, and because I invited her to come back on this show. You've seen her several times recently. She's been co-hosting. And Krista, tell us a little bit about how you cultivated your psychic and intuitive abilities, because I know you were in the corporate world and you've been very rooted in mainstream reality, and now you're experiencing something different. So have you always had it and you cultivated it, or was there a spiritual awakening, or both?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I remember being in high school and starting to get messages and just feeling energy in my field, but not really knowing how to express it or how to even ask questions, because I was, living in a small town where I went to a Catholic abbey for church, and it just, anything psychic was really the opposite of what I was being taught. I was seeing different things and hearing other teachings and thinking that maybe this ability was negative or bad. And, fast forward in 2012, I moved to Southern California. And in that move, there was so many things that started shifting and happening in my world where I started really feeling energy. I had ghosts all around. There was electrical things that were happening, shades going up and down. So there was just a lot happening in my world. And I started to get a lot of messages and things that were very accurate, meeting people and kind of blurting things out, and things I shouldn't have known about somebody's father passing, and it started to scare me. And I'm so grateful because I did reach out for support in that time, because I knew no one in the area. I had just moved. I had taken a new job that was very consuming, but I was able to connect with somebody who supported me in learning how to use my intuition for good and to not be afraid of it. And I learned very early on that I was also gifted with the ability to connect with those who had passed over. And, over the years, collecting all these different skills and energy healing, and, while I had another job and another life, I was able to just hone those skills. And I was always just helping out friends and just doing things by donation and not really doing this as something that was a big part of my life, but, an aspect of it. And now, 3 years ago, I actually stepped away from my last corporate position and have really stepped into this and really have stepped into my confidence with it. And we know, Ellen was saying, we all have this gift, we all have this ability, and we're all multidimensional beings here on this planet. So we have access to all these different dimensions. And so when we practice, it's almost like, lifting a weight. You practice and you use that muscle. And the more you do it, the better you get it. And the more confident you get in the messages. And so now I'm able to support friends, family, clients all over the world with my ability to help them connect to information, to get very clear, accurate information to help them with their very next steps, whether it be in business, what's the next career move? What's the next thing I need to do with this merger? Or, what do I do in this relationship? Or, someone passed over. I just had an opportunity last week with a dear friend whose mother passed over. And within 5 hours, she called and we spent 90 minutes on the phone connecting with her mother, bringing her in and giving her that information that would just help her have peace of mind, help her find that place in her heart that had the gratitude for the time with her mom, and to receive messages that it was all okay from the other side. So that's just a little bit, just to touch the surface. So I know we have so many beautiful practitioners here tonight that are going to share. So
I do have a quick question for you. Because you mentioned something interesting. You mentioned that at a certain point, before you were more trained, you had ghosts and scary stuff going on.
Yeah.
But then you said in passing, you learned how to manage that. Do you have a quick tip for if there are poltergeists or ghosts or not so friendly beings around? Is there a quick tip you can give on how to manage that?
Yeah. So for me, what I've learned and what I totally understand is truth is that we as the humans have the power. We can speak anything with any intention, and to speak the power about what we can and will or will not accept into our energy fields. So I realized, thankfully, I was never in a situation where I had a lot of negative, there was a few. But when I asked them to go away, they did. And I also received support from somebody who was much more experienced than me at that time to just make sure the energy was clear and to make sure that there weren't entities hanging out in my energy field. So I guess my biggest tip would be to remember that you as a human have that ability to speak and to decree whatever it is. And then the other aspect of this is that, we're all light beings. So these beings that come into our field are really attracted to our light, just like a dog might run up to you in the park, or there's certain people that gravitate to your energy. So the same thing with these other beings from other dimensions, or those who've crossed over who have maybe not been directed or been ready to step into the light. So we also have that ability to help them and to ask them if they need our support in crossing into that light. And of course, we don't have to. I know there was a time when that first started happening, I did not have the capacity to do that. So I also learned from my teacher that it was okay just to say, I'd love to help you. I send you in love, but I can't help you right now. And then they did step out of my field. So those would be some of my initial tips, Scott. Thank you. Great questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Krista is going to be doing her best to track the questions coming in. And we are going to have a roundtable conversation with our psychics and our intuitives and our guests towards the end of the show. And there's actually a question there that you may want to personally answer, Krista, from Susan, which I think is a question for you. So I'll let you do that in the chat box. All right, Mr. Steinfeld, I am so grateful for you being here, and it's time for you to introduce your first guest.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. One thing I wanted to say that I didn't say in the introduction is when I interviewed Deepak Chopra, he says it's all consciousness. And I say, that's great, Deepak, but that's not it. That's the foundation. This show and what these people do is the application of consciousness. So yes, of course, it's all consciousness. We know that we've graduated from Spirituality 101 to know, of course, we're consciousness. What are we going to do? And someone like Marla Lombard, she is just a fantastic human being. She's a great storyteller, and she really cares about the people she reads for. She almost embodies them and travels down their kind of psychic path to discover the secrets they have been hiding from themselves in some in some cases, but she's also writing a great book on discovering your 10 psychic centers, the complete guide to empowering your psychic self. And I hope she talks about that a little bit and talks about the level of compassion that we as light beings are, like Krista said, as light workers, need to have. And when we do have that compassion, there is an empathy, a feeling sense that opens up for each of us, that we can access this consciousness what we think is so private to us, but it's really not. It's in the conscious field, and Marla is an adventurer of consciousness, and she can explore those realms as good as anyone I've met. So Marla, thanks so much for being here.
Alan, thank you. That was amazing. I really appreciate that.
Well, we've become good friends over the last 2 years. We've been doing this online chat room for about 2 years, me and Henrietta and Marla, Extraordinary Knowing. I don't know what we're calling it now, but please, Marla, tell everyone what you do, how you do it, and maybe some tips for other people.
You know, I would love to talk about these 10 psychic senses that I've identified, and I'm not limiting it to 10 psychic senses, but I'm just going to share briefly that when I became psychic, it was extremely sudden. I was not prepared for it. In fact, I wasn't even interested in psychic things. I was working in another field that I loved and adored, never planned to leave it. So when I became suddenly psychic, it was extremely disorienting, and I didn't know anybody in spiritual communities. So I felt very alone and isolated. I didn't have anybody to talk to. It was actually a wonderful, difficult time of life. So shortly after I became psychic, I really started quite early on teaching about psychic development. Because I'd worked so hard really by myself and my spirit guides to try to learn. I was absolutely fascinated and driven. So my mission is to make it comfortable and doable and easier for everyone, because we are all psychic, but we all do it differently. So shall I tell you the 10 psychic senses I've identified?
Yes,
I want to hear them for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. So hearing, seeing, knowing, body feeling, emotional feeling, channeling, psychic dreaming, smell, and taste. So here's the point. People still expect, and this is where we all get into trouble, expectations lead to a lot of conflict and stress. People still often expect that they should be psychic in one particular way, or maybe two. And people often expect they should be seeing amazing psychic visions or hearing messages from the divine. And anything less is not psychic. They're not able to do it. They're blocked. But this simply isn't true. The feelers and the knowers are getting incredible psychic information. They need to know that their psychic senses are as valid as seeing and hearing. And in fact, I'm just going to tell you something. The feelers and the knowers are often blocked. They're not really blocked, but they have other expectations. The seers and the hearers often get overwhelmed by the amount of psychic information they're getting. So we kind of have two main groups. I mean, I might put the psychic dreamers in another group. The idea is that we just drop our expectations of what's going to happen and just be open for whatever unfolds. So whether you're trying to have a psychic experience or you're meditating or one comes unbidden to you, just go with it, just accept it. And the feelers especially want you to really be aware of your emotions and your psychic body feelings. This is such a valid way to get information. And I would love to tell you that for those of you who have that sort of quiet sense of knowing, psychic knowing is the most efficient sense there is. Because if you only see a psychic image, somehow you're going to have to interpret that, right? Or if you only hear a sound, you're going to have to interpret that. But psychic knowing is like direct feed, efficient. You may not know how you know it, but you know it. So I have, over the years, I started out very much as a psychic hearer and seer, and I didn't really attempt to do it, but I've been doing readings for 25 years. And over that time, my psychic senses in readings, not necessarily in other ways, is primarily psychic knowing. And now because I trust it, I completely go with it. I roll with it. And it so often turns out to be accurate.
Beautiful. Oh, go ahead, Helen.
I'm just wondering, how do we develop? I mean, yes, it's natural and people have to realize what their particular gift is, but can you talk about development a little bit, what that takes if you are one of those? Yeah.
I think that I'm sort of reiterating, but acceptance, practice, and confirmation are the thing, and awareness. So if first, just be open to having psychic experiences of any kind. And if you notice, empaths, for example, right? I mean, you can go to a dinner party and feel fine and then sit next to someone and oops, your whole mood changes or your body changes or whatever. So you can start to be aware of these kinds of changes if you're a body and emotional feeler. So acceptance and really watching how it happens for you and questioning, was that a psychic experience? And then we have the luxury of time. And over time, we will often get confirmation. So the hearers and the seers, they know something is happening. There is no question about that. But for the knowers and the feelers, and even the channelers, whether it's speaking out or automatic writing, that can be confusing too. Is it me? Is it my imagination? This is true of all the psychic senses. But just keep being aware, practice, look for confirmation, and be grateful for it when it happens.
Beautiful. Yes.
Henrietta, I'm looking at your website, and I'm remembering from when you were on the show before, it's like
No,
Or
this
so-
is Marla. Are you looking at Marla's website?
Oh, whoops. I
That's,
had to Henrietta. I am so sorry.
it's okay, but I did want Marla to give one little example of one of your journeys when you were doing a reading, maybe when you visited the flowers or one of those. Because you're a great storyteller, Marla. Tell
Oh,
one
you're
of,
so nice. Which story do you want to hear, Ellen? The
when you
flower?
went to visit the little flowers.
Okay, how much time do I have? Tell me.
How much time, Scott?
4 more minutes.
Okay, going to try to do it quickly.
Mhm.
Well, I had a boyfriend at the time, and I discovered about him, and this is a whole different story, that he had a portal in his chest, which he invited me to travel through to go to other realms. Now, I must tell you honestly, I was a little nervous about this, but finally I did it. When I traveled through the portal of his chest, I arrived in this very spacious night sky with what seemed to me to be many different worlds that I could have visited. Now, I was a little bit cautious, and so I just went to the first world on my right. I thought, I'm not going too far. I'm not going to get lost. So I went to this world, and it was filled with beautiful nature, but primarily these short, fat, beautiful white flowers, like sort of a combination between like magnolias combined with daisies. And then they began to move. And I realized that they were truly sentient beings. They were alive, they had consciousness. And then I realized that they could see me. And instead of being a nice guest, which we should be when we travel to other dimensions, right? Just be polite. I panicked and I ran out. And then I realized that these flower people were they felt so gentle and so pure and so genuine that was the worst thing I could have done. So I gathered myself and I went back into their world, and they gathered around me, and I told them who I was and where I was from and what my world was like. And they were so gracious. I love them so dearly. And that is the story of the flower people. And by the way, how I learned to be a better guest when traveling to other worlds and other dimensions. I think as humans, we often kind of stomp in there, or we're on guard for what might go wrong, but just be polite.
That's good. It's the same etiquette that we want to have with each other, right? Have it with other beings from other realms. And what an amazing series of multidimensional adventures you've had. Wow. Wow.
I mean, it just shows, Scott, how vast this universe is, how vast sentience is, and we have so much to explore. We have to realize who we are in order to do this. And people like Marla and Julie and Karen, they help us understand who we are.
Absolutely. And to learn more about Marla, and this time I'm going to the proper website, it's marlalombard.com. It's her name. That's easy. And Marla, I see that, it's easy for people to book a reading with you. Is there any particular kind of demographic group that you most enjoy working with?
Everybody. I did a medium reading today that was 3 hours long with 6 family members about a man that crossed over this year, and it was his birthday today. And I'm very fascinated by the other side, and I'm an intrepid interviewer, actually. So if you do a medium reading with me, I'll get all the information, what they're doing, are they happy, where are they going? I want to know everything when I do a medium reading.
Wow. Fantastic. All right. Well, her information, it's marlalombard.com. She'll be back with us when we go to our psychic roundtable. Thank you, Marla, for being with us. We'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you.
I just want to say, when Marla talked about doing her interview, she actually goes to the other side, meets the person, and talks to them about, where they are. I mean, she's interviewing the other side. I mean, that's what's so amazing.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you, Alan.
Yes. Okay.
I know you have another friend to introduce.
Another really good friend, one of my favorite new friends, Julie Green, and I'll read a little bit about her, but also tell a little story. She helps individuals and businesses. She's really good with business, discover their uniqueness by tuning in psychically to their soul's mission and the mission of that business. She's a former fashion stylist. She's a brand strategist. She understands multidimensional existence on this entrepreneurship level, which I think is what we need as we kind of move into this next level of conscious awareness. And I didn't know Julie at all. We had a friend in common. She calls me and we're having a nice conversation. And then she says to me, and this is what really got me. She said, you know, this book you wrote, that's like the little dog show that comes out before the big act. And I said, you're right. I'm working on a much bigger, how did you know? And it's like, it just blew me away because she knew, like, I did put a lot of effort into this book, but there's something else I'm working on. And Julie just got it. I mean, and that's the incredible, when you meet a good psychic, it's like, how do you do that? How do you know? It's like, and maybe you didn't know how you know, but you just know, Julie. So thanks for being here. And you're just a great, fine, gentle human being. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so lovely to connect with you, Alan, as always, and everyone here. This is just wonderful, beautiful experience. So thank you all. And thank you to Scott. Yeah, so definitely I can follow up on Marla with this, these awakenings that are happening. What's happening now is my sense is that the awakenings are happening a little more slowly. I love the topic, Alan, that you chose, the mainstream to multidimensionality, because that's exactly where our focus needs to be, right? Because we are all, like, I was shown sort of this idea of like, we're all a bridge, all of us, teachers, healers, guides, everyone on this call, everyone watching this, we're creating this bridge, right, between the third dimension and higher realms. And we all kind of build the bridge in different areas. Some of the, the healers, they go down deep and they work on the support system. And then there's like the, the guides who kind of like make the pavement, for the bridge that connect, different realms. And then the teachers and the guides that are a little bit higher up, we all have a role in creating this bridge. So it's super important that we come together. And especially now, because this new wave of awakenings it's gentler. People need to understand what's going on with them. I mean, I've had 2 significant awakenings in my life. Both were extremely traumatic. And we don't have to wait until there's an incident or, some kind of trauma to wake us up. And I think that's what's so beautiful, what's happening now is there's just a slow unfolding, but people need to understand what's going on when they're having a spiritual awakening, because there's so much talk about, especially with like the mental health going, so much conversation around that, which is great. But sometimes people, they don't have a mental health issue. They're going through a spiritual awakening. Or for me, I had a Kundalini awakening, which was really intense. And back when these things were happening to me, my first one was in the 90s. No one was talking about this. So it was extremely rare. There was like one spiritual bookstore where I grew up, and I lived there. I mean, I could not get enough of the knowledge. And now, we have access to information. People like us, like guides and healers, or Alan was saying, we all have a psychic. Yes, because people need to talk. They need to tell us what's going on with them so we can help guide them a little bit more, so that they're not so afraid, because it can be very, very scary. I know my second awakening, that's why I didn't choose to do this for a living. I had to manage what was coming through. I was living in LA and driving on the highway, and I would get these downloads and my body would start shaking and I'd have to pull over. It was so intense, right? So I've had to learn. I had to learn how to just manage all of these things. So people like Marla, like, we need to understand, we need to help people understand how to manage the information that's coming through, because it can be so powerful. Another thing that I'm being asked to talk with you guys about is just to sort of normalize this a little bit more too, right? So we need to kind of like one thing they really want us to work on, all of us, is the language. Our language needs to constantly be upgraded and updated because the words that we speak, matter, and we need to warm up the population. It's like we need to warm people up so that we can have more experiences here. So our galactic friends can come and visit us and be with us. But those that I'm in communication with, they're like, we need to kind of be a better host, for them. We need to warm up the atmosphere so they can kind of, come in more carefully. Like they were kind of saying it to me sort of like soup, like you got to warm the soup up. Like my guys were like, we don't like cold soup, like just, nothing against gazpacho, but we just warm the soup up a little bit, draw them a bath, like be a hostess. As much as like Marla, you were saying about traveling out, well, we also need to draw in, the helpers and more light to us, and we have to be a better host, So I think that's super important, is that clearing energy, communicating, talking, so important, as individual psychics and healers and teachers, making sure our own space and our own energy is clear, but also collectively, so that we can ascend and we can create this beautiful bridge where it's just a two-way street and it's not so weird for these kinds of conversations. So really trying to normalize things a little bit more. Also making it less serious too, like I mentioned kind of when we, first got on, is having a sort of sense of humor about these things, especially for mainstream people, especially for like the masses. Like there's a lot of cynicism around this, and a lot of like, people get really intimidated by, people like us, because they're like, they don't get it, like I had people say like, oh, so what, you're a psychic now, and it's just that cynicism. So they're telling me to work through the cynicism with like laughter and just making it a little bit more fun and not so out there woo-woo crazy. I think that's part of what my role is here. And that's why I kind of help individuals, more and more, just to kind of like get them over on the other side, but I do it in a, kind of straightforward way. And I think that helps a little bit, at least with the people that I'm working with here.
How do you work with businesses? Oh, go ahead. You had
something. And then the last thing I want to say, just was the final point, was focusing on the future. We all spending more time focusing on creating, the new earth, instead of, fighting the old systems. You know what I mean? Those are all falling away anyway. So just like, let them fall. Like the more we fight for things and we do all this, nothing against activism. Obviously, we all need to do our part to cherish and save what is precious to us. But my, intention is more on the future. How can we create, where are we going forward, instead of trying to fight things that aren't working anymore? We just have to let go and allow, us to kind of go higher and higher into the, higher realms. And I just think that that's super important and a good conversation to have anytime. It's just focusing on that. So well, I hope that makes sense.
And just businesses, how do you work with business, Julie?
Well, yeah, because I love, I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, and I just love the entrepreneurial spirit. I think it's really important. And as much as it's, businesses have energy, so like you do a reading for an individual or a couple or a group, and that's cool. But like businesses, like, that is the future. We need to create, moving away from a lot of like, I work with a lot of people in tech and a lot of people who worked in corporate culture, and they're not happy. They're just not happy. And so I have to help them leap over into, either entrepreneurship or more mission-driven work. So my job here is to get people on their mission and on their path. And, if that's in business and their career, however they choose to do it, that's kind of my specialty, I guess. So I think it's really important to have businesses that we create that are in alignment, with higher source and all of that, because I think that is also going to help generate just a better life for the people that work for them and for the products and services they create, and just, creating to a greater collective through the power of business.
Great. Do we have a little?
Julie, I'm because we're going to have to be careful with timing, Ellen. Because we ask too many questions, then everybody goes longer, and we're already 10 minutes over. So, Julie, if you don't mind, I'm going to come on in. I love your enthusiasm, by the way. You've got such great energy. No wonder all the psychic beings want to connect with you, because you're like the godmother, who's like, hey, let's all be nice to them, let's make a bath for them. I've never heard anybody suggest making a bath for our friends on the other side. So it's really beautiful. Thank you. And Julie, tell us a little bit more. I'm going to your website. Of course, I've put it into the chat box. It's her name, Julie Green Inc., I-N-C. And she spells it Julie, and then Green, Greene at the end, and then inc.com, juliegreeninc.com. Tell me more about, like, where should we go to book a consultation, or is there something you want to promote here?
Yeah, well, this is my business website. So absolutely, you can find me here, but I also have a background as a, fashion stylist and an image consultant. So typically I work with people like on the inside and out, right? And as a, branding expert as well, I work at like multiple levels. So especially for people who want to start their own business or have a business idea or already in business, I really focus on not only obviously the inside and removing the blocks that are in the way of their success, but also I have fun playing with the outside too, because once they kind of change, people naturally change the way they look, their appearance starts to change as they awaken and they continue to grow and they get on their mission. So it's kind of how can we blend the inside and the outside together? I find that really fascinating. And so people really enjoy that because it's intuitive and it's just channeling all of this great knowledge, either through, mission statements and business, vision statements and core values, all these kinds of things, or also how someone presents themselves, to the outside world. So it's kind of dressing from the inside out is sort of how I call it in terms of that level. So I have my umbrella site there that you can kind of find me in any of those areas. That's probably the best place to find me is through there. And so.
Well, very grateful for your being just in our world, in our awakening world, and part of our awakening world. And there are a lot of questions coming in. So we are going to have quite a round table, but I want to get through everybody first, and then we'll get to what's probably going to be a lengthier round table. Julie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. You're beautiful. Thanks.
And for everybody, there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. While Julie was speaking, Marla was speaking. I was texting with our good friend John Martin, and John's on East Coast time, and he had a long gig today, and he's requested coming on earlier. So originally we we're going to have John on earlier, but later, I should say. But I'm going to actually slip John in now.
Thanks,
welcome, John. Absolutely. And that's the way we roll here. We follow the flow. We're all here to support each other. So John, of course, he's like really this incredible unsung hero who is connecting with our galactic family in beautiful and powerful ways. He has probably collected as much video footage as anyone I've known in this field. And he just talks so lovingly. You and Julie have a similar thing. Julie was talking about really honoring our out-of-body friends. Well, John really speaks so beautifully and plays music for our galactic family. So John, I know you've got a new video to show, but for people who aren't familiar with you, just give us a little bit of your history of this experience.
Thank you, Scott. And Julie, I so connected with what you were saying as well, that I was very moved by that. And I've used music, Scott, to connect with the universe. It was really a thought experiment. I thought if I could go outside and play my music to the universe, and at the same time wrap the experience in love and positive thought and send it deep into the universe. And I didn't really know how to do it, but I did it anyway. And after a couple sessions, a beautiful purple plasma craft with a pink ring around the bottom of the bell came over my home. I've had numerous craft come after that. I had a beautiful cross and crescent shaped metallic craft that was the size of office buildings that came over. And they had given me heart heart clouds and beautiful showings of their intent that they're here for us. They love us and care for us. And I've literally had thousands of interactions with our star family. I've written a book called The Universe Loves You. I questioned if that was the correct name. I was thinking maybe The Loving Universe. And they said, that's not what we said. It's The Universe Loves You. And so that's the name of my book. And it's kind of a how-to guide on how to create your own relationship with our star family. And it's always an honor to be here, Scott. And I've got a short video if you'd like to see it.
Would love to see it. Absolutely.
This is just, I think, Tuesday. And this is just a small section of the interactions for that night. And I'll go ahead and play it now. Let's see if I did this right. Let me see. Oh, there it is. That's not it. Scott, I think I'm having some problems here. 1 second.
And John, if need be, I do have the video you sent me.
You want us? You can show that one if you like.
So.
I'm sorry. I thought I had it here, but it's not seeming to cooperate.
Right. So let's do this. Give me a moment because I did receive that, and I'm just going to need for you to talk a little bit more about, because you've had how many experiences by now?
I couldn't count. I don't think. And Scott, what I've done is I've made it a daily practice to go outside and share my life with our universe, with the universe, with higher dimensional beings. They come in, they're my friends, they're my family. And when I have an issue that is troubling me, I share it with them. When I have lovely things that happen, I share it with our star family. Often when I'm going outside, they'll be waiting for me right in my drive, right above my driveway. I had a chevron of about 30 craft that came. That was just so lovely. And what I would recommend is introduce yourself to the universe. Tell them your name, tell them who you are, share what you love, share what's important to you, and make it a daily habit, a daily practice. I spend about an hour every night, and there's a little park next door. We have an agreement to meet there about 9 o'clock every night. And I set up my cameras, and so I early on I would introduce myself. Hi, this is John Martin. I'm the guitarist that's played for you so many times, and I have all my dear friends. I would say, Scott Katamas and Alan Steinfeld and Whitley Strieber and so many others that are important in this field. And I said, I would really love to see you tonight. And I have different classes of craft that come. There are these two beautiful energies that have come many, many times. I had this craft here it's a winged craft, and they set themselves up and they will do aerobatics for me. And at the beginning of this video, that's what you'll see. So I would love for you to show us if you're ready.
Well, Scott, I'm just going to say, I got a message from Karen, and she doesn't have that much time. So she's on the East Coast. So we'll see the video and then we'll go to Karen.
Okay, so we've kind of adjusted the agenda then a little bit. So we're going to see, I'm going to show half the video now, In the other half of the video, before the roundtable, then we'll go to Karen, and then we'll go to Johanna for Johanna's second song. So again, that's how we kind of roll and flow. All right, here we go with taking a look at this beautiful, and just listen to how lovely John's voice is as he calls them in. Let me make sure I've got the sound. Yeah, there we go.
Wow, friends. Spectacular. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, dear friends. Thank you, lovely ones. You're so awesome. Wow, look at you go. That's wonderful. We're really moving. Thank you, gorgeous ones. That was fantastic. So wonderful. Hey, beautiful ones. Thank you. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, dear friends. Whoa, look at you go. You are amazing. I just love that. Hey, gorgeous one. Thank you for that. Wow. Incredible. Thank you, dear ones. Wow. You are just magnificent. Thank you, dear friend. Hey, there you are. Look at you go. Thank you, sweet friend. You're so awesome. You all are so great. Thank you. Thank you, beautiful one. Wow. Thank you, sweet friend. Right between those two. Magnificent. Thank you, gorgeous one. Great to see you tonight. Hey, look at you. You're so awesome. Oh, it's so wonderful to see you, my dear friend. Thank you for that. Thank you, sweet friend. You're so amazing.
Pause it there. Just about halfway through. And we'll show the second half where it's at the granted. But John, you are such a beautiful role model for us of the way you talk to them. And of course you see, because you believe and you have that gentle spirit. And you're so invitational, you're inspiring invitation of connection. And as a relationship coach, may we all be that way with each other as human beings, but also you're demonstrating it with our galactic family. And it's just a beautiful modeling. I'm going to bring Alan back on.
Scott, I'll send the other video. It's 2 minutes long. It was Tuesday, and I feel it's a sixth dimensional being. It was just this gorgeous um, super bright energy that was just above treetop level. So I'll send that to you, and I would love to get the impressions from these lovely psychics that you have on tonight. I'm so deeply moved and impressed with their great skills and gifts.
Well, yeah, we're going to get the responses to your videos.
And honestly, I'm not feeling that well, Scott. So I am going to leave early for this one time.
I understand. That's why we made the shift. And we love you, John.
Love you, Scott.
Thank you, John.
I'll send John lots of healing energy and lots
Yeah.
of energy and lots of appreciation. We love you, John.
Your friends are going to help you, John, with those energies.
Thanks, Alan.
I appreciate it. You know what John is doing, and what all the guests here tonight are showing, in a sense, the world is a lot more complex than just 3D. There's a lot going on, and we have the facilities innately in us to tap into those realms. We've just been dumbed down by the culture, by the media, but we're awakening. We are the awakening world. So there, thank you.
You know, John, before you leave, one quick question. It's a good one. As we're watching your videos, how do we decipher between satellites, stars, and the ET ships? When we're watching, what are the tips for us to be able to make the difference?
Yeah, I have a hierarchy of sightings, and there's many times where I can't really specifically say that's exactly what it is, so I just kind of put that in one category. But when they're on this side of the clouds, when they interact with aircraft, when they interact with the higher energies that are around them, when they're in multiples, and when they interact with me, I feel it's a CE6 where we are together. We're creating the experience. It's not just a passive observation. This is, I project my music. I'm a classically trained guitarist, so that I use that skill and something that I've done for the majority of my life, and I share that with our star family. So I would say, everybody, what you love is what they're interested in. They want to know who you are. Share what's important to you,
Right.
and you will have these. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
You'll have these lovely experiences. That's the thrust of my book.
I was just saying, you're not just projecting your music, you're projecting your love. And that's what I feel they're responding to.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I've played outside for years, but I never specifically wrapped the experience in love and positive thought and just sent it deep, because that's instantaneous. That time and space don't apply when you do that. It's dimensional, and they come in and almost immediately. I mean, there's I don't understand it, but it's a wonderful experience, and I highly recommend it for everyone. And I love every one of you. And thank you for having me on tonight.
Thank you, John. Big love. All right, so just to review, we're going to have a little bit of change. We're going to go to Johanna for her second song next, and then Karen Francis McCarthy. And then the Global Peace Tribe announcements. We've got Kurt Johnson jumped into the room. He's going to add, we've got something really special he's going to share. So, Johanna, wow, how was that experience for you? Well, you've got yours and I've got mine. Look at that.
Yeah, she really wanted to be here for the second song.
So we go. We both have our fur babies with us. That's great. That's great.
Yay, they look exactly the same. Coco's just a little smaller.
Yeah.
I'm looking for something like half her size now. She's 8 pounds.
Wow, see, mine is 16 pounds. So
yeah.
she's
Coco's blind now. She can't tour anymore. Her tongue's sticking out.
Oh God.
Cute
Wow.
though. It's really cute. I just accidentally touched her little tongue that was like Anyway.
Well,
so if it's okay for Coco to join, she loves
we love having Coco with us. Absolutely.
The glories of performing from home. Wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, we're all in our pajamas, right? At least pajama bottoms.
Hey, yeah, right? It's just
Yoga pants is what I'm wearing. Yeah.
Right. So Scott, I've been working on an album ever since I've known you. 2 years. The whole pandemic, my co-producer Ben Leinbach and I were working on this Yoga Soundtracks Volume 2 album. Now, he did Volume 1, and it's super crazy popular in the yoga community before we started working together 7 years ago, and he never followed it up. So me being a singing yoga teacher, we decided to collaborate on that, and I wanted to share the first single that just dropped from that tonight for you guys. So it's quite poignant right now. I've heard a lot about talking about crossing over, and I just had a dear friend and community satsang member here in Oregon pass away. And we've been having a lot of satsang and prayer and song. And it's ironic that I had released this song called Love Lives right as I was birthing this festival that I just came back from, and found out that a person had passed, and his love is still living through his wife. It's incredible. So thank you for all of your shares and all of these, gifted intuitives speaking to these things. They're real life things that are happening, and they seem to be kind of speeding up at this season. Things are kind of going into fall, and I've noticed a lot of my friends are dealing with that. So I wanted to dedicate this to my friend and to anyone else who has been lost. Jamez was his name.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for letting me speak a little about that.
Yeah, it's happening. I'm going to come in for a second. Here in the Bay Area, we've had 4 beloveds pass in the last 6 months. Celestine Starr, Joe Bullock, oh my gosh, Michael Gosney, and Katie. And 4 people, all part of the Bay Area tribe, who have all passed in the last 6 months. So there's a lot of passages taking place now. And thank goodness we have our increasing psychic abilities to be connecting with our beloveds on the other side. I mean, as you know, my wife passed away.
Right.
So, anyway, thank you for speaking to that. And I'm really we're all looking forward to hearing your song.
So it's more meditative, and it's a good moment to conjure up those names. I know we all have them, whether they're this year, last year, or any time in our lives, bringing that energy. Sorry, there was a little room in the back, noise in the background. Sound okay?
You're good.
Okay.
Oh, that was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous, Johanna. Let's just all take a breath. Giving thanks for the life that we have and remembering our beloveds that are no longer in their bodies, but their memories live forever in our hearts and through songs such as Johanna's.
And may their love shine through each one of us who they touched along the way.
It's so beautiful.
Like,
You know, I can't let Johanna go without really, I always want to let people know about this amazing Mantra Sangha video that she put together. It's one of the most remarkable creative endeavors I've ever seen of any of our people. She got people from all over the world contributing, and it's an incredible video. So when you go to her website, get her music, and definitely watch the Mantra Sangha video. I've played it several times. I'll play it more times. It's such a remarkable offering that you created. And then it was wonderful when we co-hosted and you had the two ladies that were in the video who were in it. It was really, really fun.
yeah, we were all just hanging out in person down in the center of California at the Bhakti event, and just the love that was outpouring between the people and just this community that had been gathering not in person, actually getting to be and sing together and do the thing, you know? It's like I know these people from all over the world that came there in person. So the Mantra Sangha was just like a little precursor to that. I did an online, you know, a little online festival, and then it just keeps kind of growing, this path of connecting, like pollinating, I like to call it, like helping, like you do, create space for like-minded individuals to come together and to heal. And so thank you for your service in that.
Thank you, Johanna. I always love having you on the show. You're one of our favorite people, and I know I'll see you again soon.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, Alan. What a beautiful show so far, and so much more to come. And I know you've got, you're ready to introduce Karen.
Well, you know, it's really perfect that Karen is coming on now following that song and what Johanna said about her friend, because she opened up to her mediumship and psychic abilities after her partner died. And she wrote this book, Till Death Don't Us Part. And she realized that we're never apart from those, because in a way it's love. So isn't it perfect, Karen, that you're here following all that? And she was also a trained medium at Arthur Findlay College. But what do you think of that past and the song and what we've just heard? Yeah,
it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's not even, you can actually relate to it without even listening to the words. Just the sort of whole vibration of it, just sort of beautiful, really beautiful. I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Because it was love that connected you to your partner, and that and you discovered that doesn't go anywhere. That doesn't die.
No, yeah. Well, and I think it's one of the things that really all of my work is sort of centered around. As Alan knows, I was actually a war correspondent and a political correspondent. I was in Iraq, and when my partner died suddenly, and all of a sudden all of the sort of paranormal activities, the burning bushes started happening to sort of wake me up to that particular reality. I mean, I did have those instances as a child, but I really kind of lost interest in them coming into the teens, you know, as you do. And this sort of came back, sort of full blast. And yeah, I spent, and you know, one of the things I love about Alan, and I'm really happy you asked me to come along, is you know, my background was in Zen, which, as you know, is non-theistic, but it's very simple. And so I have, even though I'm trained in the spiritualist tradition and mediumship, still have a very simple, the simplest approach possible to these things. There's no need to be complicating them at all. And I think there's an immense amount of healing in that, when we realize that what makes all of this, that this sort of energy that we call love, which sounds all very sort of, you know, new agey, but the truth of the fact is that's the energy and that's the vibration that makes all of this communication happen. So that's really important. It's a beautiful song as well. Yeah.
Well, talk about your work as a medium and how you work, and how maybe other people can access those realms too.
Well, the first thing, as you know, is I come from a very non-superstitious, very sort of, if it doesn't make sense to me, I can't get on board. It's got to be really, really simple. I am a firm believer in, all my approach is very much colored by Zen, and so I really sort of think in these ways where, from my own personal experience of having this ongoing relationship with my partner, to really challenging, and I wrote about this, as you know, in my book, really sort of challenging outworn ideas that don't belong in the 21st century. I think it's really important, and I love this work, this idea of we really need to awaken to where we are now in history, not be hanging on to these concepts and this language that stems from the classical era, or stems from biblical times, or stems from the medieval era. We need to really move on. We've made so much progress in the last century in terms of understanding, or beginning to understand that sort of nature of reality. And in terms of consciousness theory, that it's time, really, for me, we really need to start thinking in these ways. We need to start thinking in these understandings that this is the illusion, and that everything else is in this sort of unified stream of consciousness that continues and that is multidimensional. And therefore we are multidimensional, because I hear people all the time and they think, oh, when I die, I go to eternity. And I'm like, no, this is eternity. It's already here. And infinity is already here. I think when we start thinking of these terms of that, almost like I was explaining this to somebody today, if we think in terms of the mind or the brain as an antenna that's just tuning in the different, all of the thought, all of the telepathy, all of the thought, all of the being that exists in this all-pervasive consciousness, we can sort of start to see that all we're doing is tuning a knob and moving our focus. So I was talking to somebody today whose husband transitioned recently, and she's starting to feel his presence, but along with that she's hearing bumps in the attic, and so now she's sort of gone into this very medieval concept of like, oh, I'm sensing him, but what it's doing is it's opened the door to hauntings. And I'm like, no, what you've done is you're just learning to tune the knob of your radio. And it's like you go anywhere in New York City, you hear snippets of conversations, you hear all of this stuff around you. We just tune it out. We learn to tune it out. And this is all she needs to learn to do. You just tune that out and just shift your focus to where you need it to be. To me, it's that simple. And I feel that, so when I'm working mediumistically, I just get on with my day. I'm doing a PhD, as you know now. I just get on with my day. And when I have to sit down to work, I just move into an altered state, shift my focus so that my focus completely on that person's loved one and what they need to say. And then when that's done, is thank you very much. I hope it's been helpful. And then back to my day. It's all about, and this is very Zen, just about moving your focus. And that focus is what allows you to bring your reality into focus and move forward. But I'm really an advocate of seeing things that simply, because I think there's a huge amount of healing power in that. Because it takes away all of this fear. It takes away all of this medieval and classical and biblical fear and brings us into an understanding of reality as multidimensional. And of us, even though we are incarnate, we are still multidimensional beings. And like Ramana Maharshi says, who sees when you see? And to me, that's a great reminder that we kind of think, oh, well, if I'm aware that, but there is another being, there is another part of us that is even beyond the awareness of what we're thinking. Who sees what I see? Which is a beautiful way even to get through life. We get caught up in things. Who is it that is seeing that agitation? It's the eternal being. The eternal being that is still present among us, and that has this ability to be able to turn the dial to attune to all of the other eternal beings, whether they're incarnate or discarnate. That's where the power for me the healing power of mediumship comes from.
Beautiful, beautiful. And any questions from you, Scott, or
Yeah. Well, I noticed that there are a few questions that came in. One of the people, I think maybe what we may want to do is clarify when you said we're already in eternity. And one of our people said, "Oh my God, I don't want this to be eternity." Yeah, that this current moment of humanity, which is not humanity at its best. Imagining it, I interpreted what you meant was we are multidimensional beings, and we already are existing simultaneously in the astral plane, or you can call it heaven. We're already, it's all happening already. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, and also eternity is not static, so things change. I mean, when I work with people when people come and I'm communicating with their loved ones, sometimes people come. I only let people come like every 6 months or so because I would give them time, But I can see over time how a loved one, let's say, was an addict who had a terrible, or somebody who was very abusive, or somebody who was very injured, or carried a huge amount of shame, or all of these things. I work, because I'm a writer, I work very, very deeply with character as well, so I really try to get away from just keep people a list of facts, to really start getting into these profound depths of healing. And when somebody moves out of the bag of bones and into their natural state, which is the spirit still state, it is possible to start to see how they are continuing to grow and heal. So even if you think that's not static. We don't just die and go and sprout wings and sit on a cloud for all eternity either. There still is growth, and there still is healing, and there still is work to be done. So we're not going to have the politics or the eco problems or stuff like that. But it is a non-static, constantly evolving state that continues. And that's what I mean also about already in eternity. It's always a fluctuating, ongoing state of growth and healing for all of us. And we're here, I do feel, for a reason, which is why whatever we have come from our natural form, which is our spirit form, into this incarnation for a reason, and we'll go back again. So it's part of the stream of eternity. If that makes it, that's less scary.
I think that's a great point, Scott. That's eternity is not static, because what we're actually experiencing this moment is not static either. There's this flow that is eternal and not static.
An interesting story, which I'd love to get Kieran's input on, and then we'll move forward. But a good friend of mine, her grandfather, as a human being, was a really horrible human being. He blew through the family fortune. He was a cocaine addict. He committed suicide and blamed it on, a family member. I mean, just a really, really, really horrible life. And she went to a psychic, and the psychic said, your grandfather is now your guardian angel. And at first, my friend was like, "Oh my God, that's the last person I want as my guardian angel." The psychic said, "No, he is in such remorse as he now has looked at his human life." And the psychic helped her to understand that when we die, we lose our body, obviously. We also lose the personality. We also lose the part of ourself that may have been psychotic or deeply troubled. And as time has gone by, my friend has actually made peace with her grandfather as her guardian angel, who is going through wanting to heal the family lineage that he had such a negative influence on. Have you seen situations?
Yeah, but I will say with that I do find that while we don't have genetic things that come with us, as we know, say with trauma, it gets stored in the nervous system. It's the same thing with addicts. We don't take the addiction to the next form, but we take the wound that we were medicating because that needs to be healed. And so I find that initially when people pass over for the first few years, their personality is very, very similar, and over time that starts to heal. So I think in the case of somebody like her grandfather, which is very common, we have to remember that happy people don't hurt. Hurt people hurt.
Yes.
And so often, as you pointed out, that hurt can be passed down through generations. And so we are being born into these dysfunctional systems that are creating wounded people that in turn only know how to go wound other people. And so I do feel that, and I see this a lot with trauma, it seems almost easier to heal the trauma in spirit form than it is here, for a whole host of reasons which we don't have time to go into. But that over time, that person will heal, will advance, will grow, and then will likely want to make amends.
Yeah, beautifully put. And it was important for us all to just open our minds to how different things are from just our own human realm. And you're doing a beautiful job of helping us to see that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad it's helpful.
You're very helpful. For more information on Karen, her website is also her name, Karen Frances McCarthy. I love that. It brings out, Karen Frances McCarthy. And so everybody always put in your email address so that we can stay in touch with our friends like Karen. And I love that, healing the heart for mediumship. And you are available for coaching for people who want.
Yeah, I do a lot. I do private sessions, obviously, for the bereaved as well. Actually, there's an interview with Alan on there somewhere as well, because Alan and I talked on New Realities about my book when it came out as well. Yeah, I do private sessions, obviously, for the bereaved, and I do soul assessments for people wanting to some very, very deep, profound guidance for their soul's path. But I also do a lot of teaching, and I think we've talked about that before. So I'm teaching an advanced mediumship course for mediumship students in a couple of weeks. But I'm also introducing, I'm really excited about this, I'm introducing a new course that's for bereaved people who want to learn how to maintain relationships with their loved ones in a healthy way. Because there really isn't, I realised, anyone to help them except like a lot of sort of hearsay and rumour. So I've designed this course, this one here, Afterlife Communication there, to help those. So I'm really excited about that. And then this is the first of a series of mediumship courses as well I'm teaching. And I do some private mentoring for people who don't want to get into courses or need a little bit of extra help. So that's there as well. Oh, and I would say, and I know we talked about this the last time, if anybody would like to join my community there, it's free. And there's a whole host of talks and lectures and workshop recordings and free meditations and all sorts of stuff in there. You can ask questions that I actually answer on these little short videos on YouTube as well every month. So a whole bunch of stuff there. It's just to try to make a lot of resources and a lot of recommended reading available to people so that we've got some. I was very fortunate to be trained by some of the greats like Glyn Edwards and Mavis Patilla. I mean, these just phenomenal mediums who are in the spirit form themselves now. But I kind of feel I'd love to be able to sort of pass on the teachings of that lineage, and then I kind of mix in a little bit of my own sort of Zen presence about being present into that. So I think it's important to also be able to make these offerings to people who just are starting maybe out on their journey. Just sort of, curious. So there's a whole lot of, including Alan's interview, there's a whole lot of resources there that people can access for free. So anybody who would like to do that, please do come along.
Thank you so much. That's very generous. And boy, as I kind of scroll through your website, I was very impressed with how much you're offering and providing, Karen. So thank you so much. Now,
thank you.
You're not going to be with us for the roundtable.
Yeah, I'm on the East Coast and I have an early start, so I thought I might not be able to stay if we run late. So I'm sorry.
Well, thank you for being with us again. And you've been with us before, and I really hope you'll be with us again soon.
Absolutely, I'd love to. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
All right, thank you. Scott, what's amazing about all these people that presented is how human, psychic, all that. It's not this occult thing like it was 100 years ago. It's so much more loving and open-hearted. Yeah, that's what I'm getting from the show.
Well, we're going to have two little segments of Global Peace Tribe announcements. And Alan, I think you've got an announcement you want to make, yeah?
I do. Is that my time to make it now?
Well, if you need a little time to pull it together, I can.
No, I think I got it. It's one thing I'm doing that really relates to what we're talking about is offering this remote viewing course with LightNet, which our friend Zinka is producing different ways of making contact. And I said, one way is using your consciousness to go out in space and go to other realms. And then we do the practices of remote viewing, which were developed by the CIA and Ingo Swann. And once this window of seeing is open, that is another way of accessing your psychic awareness. And, you know, it's so kind of ironic that the CIA put money into developing remote viewing, and now it's become a spiritual practice because someone says it's like a gateway drug to your spirit. It's like if you know your mind is non-local, then you realize your own divinity. And that's what people are realizing in this course. It's an 8-week course, and we're going to learn how to do local targets, and then we're going to do non-local targets and go off planet. And I think it's possible because consciousness can go anywhere, anytime. So it's been really fun.
Beautiful. And John, will you put the into the chat box how people can register or get more information?
Yes. Thank you, Scott. That was, yeah.
Did I freeze? Okay, great.
And Ellen, Laura's asking, when is that course starting? Do you have a date?
Yeah, it's starting October 17th. So sign up right away. I'll put the link in the chat. Sign up, and we have a few more spots, but it's going to be a lot of fun because we really share collectively as a group. We build the field, we build the quantum field, and then we journey together. So like I'm saying, it's all consciousness, but and I talked to Deepak particularly about this, let's use consciousness as the ground where we can apply it to changing our realities and opening up the multidimensional being that we are. So that's my little.
All right. Thank you, Krista. Thank you, Alan. Yeah. And you know, Alan and I are both part of the Evolutionary Leaders Network. And we have another member of the Evolutionary Leaders Network. You've seen him on this show. Kurt Johnson is in the house. Hello, Kurt.
Hello. I think I'm unmuted.
Nice yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Kurt is, you know, I do a lot. Kurt is someone who also does a lot. It is remarkable how many books you've written and magazines you curate and articles you pull together, and then the synergy circles of the Evolutionary Leaders Network that you organize and put out there. So, Kurt, as I've gotten to know you, and it's relatively the last just 2 years I've gotten to know you, I'm so impressed with all that you're doing. And you've got something new that I just discovered today that you're doing. And so, well, come on and tell our audience about it, because I think it might be of value. So tell us what you got going on.
Well, I think as many of you remember, on September 16th, we were here with Dr. Paul Mills, who's the author of this amazing new book, which is also a #1 in pre-sales at Amazon, Science, Being, and Becoming: The Spiritual Lives of Scientists. At the forward by Deepak Chopra, special commentary by Ken Wilber. And this is 32 neuroscientists, including department head at Harvard, also one who's up for a Nobel Prize, discussing the whole landscape of the kinds of experiences that we're talking about. And it's really been a green light for mainstream scientists to come out of the closet with these types of understandings of their own paranormal and non-normal experiences. And we're also then in contract with Paul for a second book, which will build it out from neuroscience to cosmology, physics, evolutionary science, economics, and philosophy, because we're just at the beginning of this era where there's a permission now for people who have had these experiences and who are mainstream and successful scientists, but haven't been able to talk about it. So that's what we were on the 16th. So 2 pieces of news. So we actually had such a great conversation with Scott. Scott and I were taking turns bouncing questions off of Paul. We've actually pulled that out and made that a really, really great 20-minute video at YouTube. And then when I'm done, Scott will kind of tell you where those are. I'll put in the chat also where to find them. So then the second part is that this coming Tuesday, October 11th, is actually the official launch of this book. And we'll actually be on Facebook with John Raymer doing a sine wave. And we actually will have 4 other really prominent neuroscientist guests. So we'll have Dr. Paul Mills on, also with Dr. Jude Currivan, I think who many of you know, the UK cosmologist and anthropologist, author of The Story of Gaia, and also The Cosmic Hologram. But we're also going to have Dr. Shamini Jan from Consciousness Studies and Clinical Psychology at University of California, San Diego. And we're also going to have Dr. Neil Teese, who's at the Grossman School of Medicine at NYU, New York University. And by chance, along with what Karen had to say, he's a major Zen practitioner. But of course, as an MD, he also has had a long experience with people having these, near-death experiences and other, transdimensional experiences. So this is a real breakthrough moment, particularly with scientists being able to talk about this and to give each other support in doing so. So we've been so pleased to be able to do this book. So I think Scott now, I think he has the links.
Yep, I put the links in. Yep. And, just a reminder, everybody, the sine wave will be available for those of you who are watching on my channel, Love Coach Academy. We always carry the sine waves. So the book launch is this Tuesday, October 11th at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So it's a little bit early for us West Coasters, 8 o'clock in the morning. Start your morning with Paul Mills, Jude Currivan, and all of our other friends here for this very, very special book launch. And it's going to be really exciting. And several people have already said that they ordered the book after seeing you on the show last month. And it is exciting how science and spirituality are really coming together. And that is a huge part of the awakening world. These two parts of life that were so diametrically opposed for thousands of years are now coming together, and they're saying the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of my doctorate's in evolution and also in the evolutionary sciences, because we now understand this new paradigm of evolution toward understanding altruism and cooperation and not just survival of the fittest, has again opened the door for so many people in the biological sciences to start also talking about how they've been straddling their spiritual lives with also being prominent scientists. So take a look at the YouTube video. You're going to find this conversation we had with Scott really inspiring. Paul Mills is such a great speaker, comes right from his heart, really perceptively deep. So enjoy the rest of your program. I'm sorry I have to run. Alan, it's always great to see you. You and I have a past, as you know. And,
yes. Kurt, you are everywhere all the time, and I don't know how you get it all done, but you do.
Well,
thank you.
It takes all of us. So thank you for these few moments, and
thank you,
we
Kurt.
really look forward to sharing. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I want to just remind everybody that we are continuing to build the Global Peace Tribe in wonderful ways. And one wonderful way, as you kind of see behind me, I have started on Saturday mornings a relationship satsang group. And a lot of people that are on the show right now, a lot of people that are in our chat that I'm seeing in the chat box have been joining us. And it's an opportunity for us to come together in a Zoom meeting format and work on our relationship challenges. My day job is as a love coach, and I've coached thousands of people and over 1,000 couples and families. And I provide tips, tools, and practices. And I'm providing this free of charge for the month of October for anybody who is registered for the Awakening World. And our first 2 weeks have been very powerful. Last week, we had Kristen Hoffman as our special guest. Larissa Stowe is going to be coming on as a special guest in the next week or two. And so it's Saturday mornings, 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern, and it's a chance to work on relationship issues. So really want to encourage people to take advantage of that. And then I also want to remind everybody about our retreat. We finally are having our first Global Peace Tribe retreat. There's Krista, who's going to be there with her partner, Nicole, and Tangela, who's going to join us a little bit later tonight. Deborah Giusti will be there. Omashar will be there. We'll all be together live. And, you heard Johanna Beekman talking about how wonderful it was, her Bhakti Love reunion. And it really is exciting when we can finally come together. And Karen Eisenberg is going to be there, and Kiki, and a lot of the people that I know that are with us. And we're going to have play shops, a super conscious music festival, Danyan Brinkley doing a big event, a psychic fair. There's a lot going on the weekend of October 20th to the 24th. And join us in Sedona, Arizona. And I'll put details into the chat box of how to register. Excuse me. So those are our first Global Peace Tribe announcements. And Krista, I see you've got your little heart up. So is there something you're giving us a heart on?
I'm just so excited to meet everyone in Sedona, and I think we're all going to be there in 2 weeks, right? It's right around the corner.
That's right. And we'll be live streaming the Awakening World from Sedona. So
that's great.
That's what we're going to be doing. And it's going to be very special.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. And I'm excited. I'll bring on Karen is going to be with us there. And let's see who else has their camera on that's going to be with us. Roger and Bonnie are going to be there. And let's see. Kiki, she's going to be there. I'm putting the camera on some of you. Surprise, surprise. Omashar is going to be there. There is Omashar. So these are just some of the people who will all be there for our Global Peace Tribe retreat. First one, there he is, the Wild Monk. Jerry Anderson is going to be there. And I guess I should add myself. I'm going to be there. So these are just some people that will all be together, along with many, many other Global Peace Tribers. So definitely make sure you join us, everybody. All right, Alan, I'm turning it back over to you because I believe you have, let's see, I'm going to go to the agenda. Oh no, actually we're going to go to Omashar for some music. That's right. Everything kind of changed around with our agenda. So it is time for our beloved brother Omashar to give us a musical offering. Hello, partner.
Namaste and aloha, and always expect the unexpected. And that is one of the beautiful parts of this show is we are constantly recreating as we go along. And I feel so blessed to be amongst us all tonight. And I have a short, I'm known for metaphysical pop music. It's music that I have labeled myself because I don't like labels, so I gave myself a label. So there's an oxymoron right there. And so this is a short song. We don't have Eleanor Joy here, but stand up and dance already because it's hopefully going to shake your booty. And it's called Out of the Blue. And it's a song about our ancestors who have actually gone theoretically into the ethers, and they're reaching back out of the blue and guiding us forward. And the lyrics will kind of explain that. And so without further ado, we are going planetary because it's cosmic. We're going to get professional with the sound. And are you sitting comfortably? Here we go. Whatever happened to the ones that came before? Did they just vanish into the blue? Maybe they're living the dream we know to be true, and reaching their hands back out of the blue. Heart is so ready to embrace all that's you. I feel the love calling for me to break on through. With peace on my mind, I know that I'm coming to a new way of life that feels so true. Here we go, interplanetary. Ba-da-dum-dum-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-dum-da-da-da-da. There's nothing here to hold me back from you. The clouds of my life have blown away.
My lightness of being lifts me every day. I find myself feeling not so blue. My heart is so ready to embrace all that's new. The love calling for me to break on through. Peace on my mind, I know that I'm coming to a new way of life that feels so true.
Wow.
That's fun.
That was very peppy, very peppy song.
It was good. It's funny how I introduce songs, because it came out as a really gentle song when I first wrote it. And whatever happened to the ones that came before? I was thinking of like my father that passed about a decade ago, and the song came through. And then I thought, I'm going to just metaphysically pop music that right up. And there it is.
Well, it was perfect, especially with everything we're talking about tonight.
Yes.
And remember, everybody, that we want to always support our beloved brother Omoshar by getting his music. And you can get it from Bandcamp. Go to omoshar.bandcamp.com. That's where the albums are. He was just telling me today he's got another album coming out soon.
It's called Lightness of Being, and that probably will be on it as well. And yeah. There it is. Also, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, any jungle.
Great. All right. Now I'm going to go to Alan. Alan, any thoughts before we go on to our next psychic?
Well, yeah, I think you're right about the music, Scott, because I just like to talk and do, but this is a variety show and we want to hit all the notes of the human heart, and music and this deep conversation and the multidimensional aspects. That's why this show's been going for 2 years, because it's quite full. Each weekend it's full. So that's some of what I have to say. So thanks.
All right, thank you. I'm glad we got your approval on that. Yeah.
Oh no, I always said, do we really need music? It takes up a lot of time, but we do need music. You're right.
We've had that little come on now, we got to keep it lively.
It's the sugar that helps the medicine go down.
Yes, it is the medicine.
And it picks up our energy, because tonight's going to be a long show.
Yeah.
So tonight's going to be a longer one. So it's really helpful. And thank you, Omoshar, for always being there and jumping in, because originally we had a whole different agenda, and Omoshar is always there.
Welcome. And what I'd say to Alan, brother, is that all of the content comes out of beings like you that share your content with me, and I transliterate it into music. And so thank you.
No, you're right. That is another multidimensional aspect of the human being where we don't need words. It's pure vibration. So thanks for reminding me about that.
Well, I get to now introduce our next psychic, and she's become a very dear friend. And some of you have heard this story before, but I'm going to share it again. I want to share it with Alan. Alan said, Scott, you got to share the story. Yeah. So this is Guinevere Bridge. And many, many years ago, I booked Guinevere on a television show that I was working on. And that was probably in the late 90s. Many, many years passed. We became Facebook friends, but really didn't connect very much. And as most of you know, my wife passed away in November of 2011. And it was about 6 months after that that I was walking through our bedroom. I was coming out from one room to the bedroom, and for a flash, I saw my wife, who had died 6 months earlier, on the bed, smiling at me. I was like, whoa, but it was one of those like quick flashes, like, oh, I could have sworn I just saw Suchi smiling at me. A few minutes later, I'm back on my computer and I get a message on Facebook Messenger from Guinevere Bridge, who I hadn't really heard from. I think we had maybe, texted a little bit. I think you had acknowledged her passing. I get a message from Guinevere saying, "Hi, Scott, this is Guinevere. I just want to let you know that your wife just came to me and wanted me to tell you that, yes, you did just see her." That's the level of connection that Guinevere Bridge is at. And it was such an incredibly beautiful acknowledgement. Shortly after that, I was in Asheville, North Carolina, teaching and spent time with Guinevere, and she brought Suchi, my wife, in an amazing way. So we've been very closer friends since then. She's been on this show a few times. And Guinevere, thank you for being with us. And you have recently had a very remarkable experience to share with our audience. So I'm going to turn it over to you to share this latest of Guinevere's adventures.
Okay. Well, first off, I feel like the perfect song opened for me. Okay. Because the work I've been doing lately, or like all psychics, and I know all the psychics here are going to agree with me, we all have an arc. So like even what was mentioned earlier about different skills, the knowing, clairvoyant, clairaudient, all that other kind of stuff, right? And it's not uncommon as we challenge ourselves to go deeper or farther for our arc to take us to really intense duty, okay? Which is really exciting when you think about it, that the practical folding in of deep healing isn't just how we're experiencing it on the emotional, but how can it actually serve us into the material world? Mm-hmm. And so my work lately has been deeply ancestral and has had a lot to do with weaving and bridging past, present, and future to help people heal each timeline that they live on, because we're on all these wonderful spider line threads. And the higher we go with our own consciousness, the more chances we have to heal every version of ourselves and also to retell the past in a healing way. So the adventure I just went on, which truly threw me under the mind blown category. In my work, the normalcy that we were speaking about earlier, bringing things into a normal energy, sometimes the extraordinary takes over and becomes the normal in the weirdest ways. So getting to the adventure, it was a weave work of people all connecting in. I was the center hub of this energy, all connecting in, that were doing true ancestral healing. And that threw me into this place of seeing them from multiple threads of consciousness. So we're going to go back in time to the first individual I met. His name is Frank, very lovely soul. And unfortunately for him, I have much compassion for him. He did not acquire me. Now, when people come to me for a reading, clearly I'm a flowing open book. I'm just going to go in deep with them and help them resolve things, fluid, right? But I don't walk up to strangers. I don't, solicit, because it's uncomfortable, because it's invasive. I keep my energy very nicely packed, I don't overflow into other people's realms in that weird way that sometimes happens with younger psychics, where they're like, I have to tell you. It's like, no, they need to ask. I walked up to him simply to ask him if he would like to give me his perspective of the situation that we were both in at the time, which was about the protection of water and the connection to our resources and getting connected to in our indigeneity. Everybody's indigenous, right? We all come from a earth-based energy before things kind of went kablooey, right? And the reason why I approached him was because there was these big, giant purple orbs flying up around him. And I was like, okay, well, I'll ask him if he wants to be interviewed. But you notice I didn't try and take it to the psychic realm. I was not trying to take it there at all. And when I approached him, the first words that came out of my mouth was about, hi, this is my name. This is why I'm here. Are you interested in being filmed? As I'm speaking to him, food is falling out of his mouth. Literally, it's falling out of his mouth. And I was like, oh no, I have spoken to somebody and offended them. Maybe I should back all the way off. But then he was very kind and he said, yes, I'll meet you tomorrow. Now, what ended up happening is he brought his entire family to me the next day for a healing. And that took me off guard. It seemed out of the blue. So to give context, I had no idea when I approached him that I went into full channeling, because sometimes those higher energies that choose us for a certain thing just take over. So I was apparently not fully in the driver's seat at the moment that I was speaking to him. And I did not know this. I only knew the words that I was conscious of saying. I didn't know that there was more that I had said. Fast forward to now, the present, which brought me to the adventure that I just went on. A young lady came to me because I just finished doing ancestral healing work with her best friend. Both of them were incredibly depressed. We're talking all the way at the bottom of trying to figure out why things weren't working. And both of them knew of my reputation. I worked with him, brought him out of it, lots of joy, lots of celebration. He calls her, he says, maybe you should go down this road. I get on the phone with her and I'm speaking with her ancestors specifically. They're the ones who wanted to come through to help her resolve. And this wraps to the earlier psychic. I'm so sorry I didn't memorize everybody's names about that whole bastard of a grandfather who ended up being an actual guide. So with her, she had this beneficial grandmother and this really upset great grandfather who said, I've done really bad things that I want you to help me resolve. And so they're speaking this to me. They both want to help her, right? But one of them has done horrible wrong. And what he did was he actually signed execution papers, okay, way back in the day in regard to Sitting Bull. So I don't know how many people here know who Sitting Bull is, but that's specifically what he did. And so all of this information is flowing out as I'm speaking to her great-grandfather, as I'm speaking to her grandmother on her mother's side. And my heart has literally stopped when the Sitting Bull thing has come up. And I'm like, I need to call you back. And she got concerned and thought I was going into this interesting judgment space. And I said, no, I need to call you back because we're in ceremony with this. It's not just a reading. We're going into ceremony with your ancestors. And I need to call somebody. Now I called the man that I met in 2016, Frank. And I knew he had some association with that family, but I didn't really know how, because over the years he had exposed me to certain medicine men and healers that were in his family line. I get him on the phone and he literally is welling up with tears as I tell him what is going on over there. I said, this, I believe, directly links to you. And that's when he said, do you remember the first day you met me? And I said, no, I remember vaguely. I walked up and I met you, asked you if you wanted to be filmed. He said, no, what else you said? And I said, I don't recall. Maybe you'll have to refresh my memory. And he said, you just launched into saying that my ancestors were all around both of us and that there was going to be this great justice done for your family. And I'm going to link these threads in and bring you all together. Just have faith. You're going to get through this. Your family is going to finally get the healing and recognition they deserve. That's, by the way, when the corn was falling out of his mouth because he forgot to chew, which now he's telling me in the present moment, right, on the phone, that he had forgotten to chew, which is why corn had been falling out of his mouth, because he was stunned at how I knew who was who in his ancestry and what the story was. Of course, this person, this cute little girl here, channeling, right? Channeling. It was the same with Suchi. I was channeling. It's hard for me to remember details sometimes if I channel deeply because I'm just doing the duty of spirit work. So I was able to bring these two families together for a healing and reparation ceremony that allowed him to finally be fully resolved in regard to his great-grandfather, who was Sitting Bull's nephew and best friend, and who had taken the blame for what had gone on, when really it was this young lady's grandfather who had done this deed. And for the first time, he had solid proof in his hands of what had occurred. So it was one of the most powerful journeys I've been on. The beauty of the time period it spanned and the people that needed to be approaching me for me to do the bridge work and weave work that I'm already committed to. I do bridge work and weave work with everybody who lets me. Anybody who will let me do that work with them, I'm always excited to do it because as a psychic, yes, I'm skilled. But what I really want is for us to all move to this higher realm energy, this fifth world energy, for us all to move into harmony and healing, which also includes absolving these unpaid energies. So in some way, we do have to look at our past to be able to move peacefully into our future with the gift of true peace, harmony, and interconnection with each other. And the deeper I go down this road, the deeper it gets. It has no top, no bottom, no sides. And I've learned to truly trust who's coming to me and who I'm coming to. The other benefit is the multidimensionality, where when these things happen, this thread goes back because these same people are still alive right now because all time exists at one time, right? So they're getting this deep healing that had previously been missing. A whole nother branch of time is opening up for them to live better lives, which is awe-inspiring. And I'm thrilled to do the bridge work with that, thrilled to do the weave work with that. And it lets me move sometimes for a little while into other timelines and do really intense work, and then take those things and pull them back. That's why I keep saying weave work, because I'm literally weaving every single positive energy I can into this giant bubble that I include everybody in, so that we can all move forward in better ways and truly evolve. So it was a very exciting adventure.
You know, now I know why your name is Guinevere Bridge.
Literally.
Literally. That's her last name. And that really is truly, it's so powerful. And I hope everybody was able to track it. The bottom line is two completely different families that came to her, and there was a whole incredible ancestral connection, and a great ancestral healing took place as she traveled to another state to meet with both of these families, bring them together, and do this incredible healing work. So it's very, very powerful. I'm going to bring our co-host, Krista, on, because I noticed that Krista in the chat box was really enjoying what you had to share. And Krista, as you hear this story, is that similar? Because you do a lot of epigenetic work and ancestral healing. So I thought it might be interesting to bring you on and get kind of your reflection on what you just heard from Guinevere.
Yeah, Guinevere, everything you were saying, I was just God bumps all over my body, because I resonate so deeply with the work that you do, and how that weaved together with those two families. Wow. I mean, that goes to show that you are just being this beautiful conduit on this planet to bridge and to support people's healing on so many dimensions, so many different levels. And, you know, I resonate, because that's so much of what is in my heart to continue to do, as well as we continue to learn like how we do. And we've had these conversations this summer, Scott, about healing 7 generations back, because we carry, and we know by science that's proving it now, that we do carry that trauma or triumph, whatever it might be, in our DNA today. And when we do that, when we say in this lifetime, it stops with me, it heals going forward as well. So Guinevere, the work you're doing is what needs to happen so much. And I really wanted to also bring a question that Laura brought in. Do we have to heal our past? I would really rather leave my father's spirit alone on the other side. So how do you answer, someone that, maybe doesn't want to go into that work, and, oh, that's icky, and I don't want to go there, and I want to stay more in different, vibration. So I'd love for you to share that answer with us, what you'd say to your clients.
Well, this is brilliant. Thank you for such a wonderful question. The answer to that is similar to how I witnessed each of you who came before me, okay? Each of you is bringing something so truly, deliciously unique. Your path is very specific, and the teachings you're supposed to give the people who come to you is very specific to their needs. We haven't been set here randomly, right? Mm-hmm. So that means that if somebody's listening to a whole bunch of psychics speaking in a panel like they are right now, they're going to hear different perspectives on things, right? They're going to hear one person say, go to the future, forget the past, right? They're going to hear somebody like me say, go to the past to go to the future. And everybody has a different duty on that energy. So no, it's not necessary ever to go to a past relative or even to a past timeline. But what I've discovered is once you start working on self-compassion, and this is just my discovery and only for people who are choosing that for themselves. is those areas where you died tragically or horrible injustices were done still are an imprint somewhere in your soul. And when you get into deep self-compassion, the desire to heal every aspect that ever existed becomes a reality. Because you realize that as you go through all that time and space, back, forward, present, that it's all one thread, that all the forms of me exist somewhere. This is the form of me that's being seen today, that each of them deserves happiness. I truly believe that, right? So if you had an evil self, like your evil queen, your villain lifetime, your ability to go back and find out what wound caused that and heals it gives you the chance to go back to your own self, forgive, heal, love. And then you have more to offer to others. There's more available energy. Still not required. I'm going to say that, you know, as far as my experience, wherever people are at, wherever they're being led, and whoever they're interacting with needs to be paid very specific attention to, because that is your work, whatever it happens to be. So somebody else might be drawn to you or one of the other ladies on the panel and never be drawn to me because I'm not needed by them. And so that amazing trust you have to have on the cosmic family that works with us is extraordinary. And one of the things I've discovered is I've been having conversation with my past, not just lives, but actually the child self. And I found journals that the young self, the young me wrote with detailed information of things I'm experiencing now, because apparently I was talking to her and she was carefully logging everything. And so now I look back and I'm like, wow, I was talking to me and she was hearing me. But now I have context.
That's fascinating. Yesterday, I went to my future self and started talking to myself, and I caught myself in it, and I thought I've not really done that before. So
also
that is
talking to your
happening.
future self is always a good thing. Your future self is your older self, your older sister, right? So I do seek her when I'm struggling. So when I'm struggling and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just so tired. This feels like so hard. Why is it so much drama? Then I chill out and I go, hey, older, you know, bigger, farther out there, Guinevere, can you give little baby girl here a little help?
Yeah,
she does come. She's a little bit intense though, so I have to be ready when she comes.
You know, and conversely, I really want to encourage people, think of times in your life in the past that were hard, and take your wise self now and talk to the teenager that was heartbroken, the person who lost, whatever it is. Go, I do that. I go to the times in my life where I was really hurting, and Love Coach Scott ministers to teenage Scott, or, and that's another thing that we can all do. And it's very healing. So one of the things that I'm loving about tonight's show is we're really getting a chance to drop in to the multidimensionality of us. And as Guinevere said, there's so many different possibilities. There's a wonderful book, The Nature of Personal Reality by Jane Roberts, is a Seth book. And he talks about how what takes place on the astral plane and what takes place on the multidimensional level, there's so many different journeys of life. Just like if somebody says, well, what does it mean to be a human being? There are 8 billion current experiences of being human that are all a little bit different from each other, and some are very different. It was the same thing as Jesus said, in my Father's house, there are many mansions, which I think was his way of trying to say, look, in the astral plane, in the multidimensional world, there's so many different realms and so many different ways. And, it's human nature that we want to kind of try and figure out just one, oh, this is what happens when you die, or this is what happens, everything imaginable. And I love how Guinevere said, hey, some people are going to come to Guinevere. Some people are going to go to Julie. Some are going to go to Krista. Some are going to go to Henrietta, because we all have our own unique journey of discovery, of learning to love ourselves, of whatever it is, our higher self, our soul self wants us to learn. So thank you.
Scott, the other thing I think Guinevere and all the people here brought out is that there's an illusion of time, space. They're not real they're concepts which we pretend to live by, because what's real is the eternal presence of the spirit, of the being. And that's what we're learning as multidimensional beings, that there's the illusionary world and there's truly us. And this has been a great demonstration. Thank you, Guinevere.
Yeah,
Thank
beautiful.
you. Thank you.
For
Yeah.
more Guinevere, just want to let people know, and I'm going to go to her link tree in a moment, but I love this poster of her because she is a priestess, a ceremonialist, and a clairvoyant. Very gifted at all those. So what you want to do is go to her link tree, and I put that in the chat box, but I'll show it to everybody. Linktree is a great way to kind of get all the different links, all the different things that she provides. And I know that you've got Oracle cards, you've got a YouTube channel, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram. Is there anything in particular tonight you want to promote, Guinevere?
Actually, yes. I'm interested in promoting my YouTube channel because as I talk more and more about non-locality, spooky action at a distance, these timeline, time warps, these time bubbles, this dimensional work, I'm now gradually uploading all of that onto my YouTube, because one of the things I'm trying to encourage is for those people who are starting to actually become true time shifters, where we're walking not in vision, but actual in body through different time periods, that they don't need to feel like they're crazy. They need guidance so they don't feel like they're going to get lost somewhere. Because I went through a bubble that was a 6-hour bubble. And I was one day ahead in a totally different timeline. And then I was out the other side of the bubble back to here with us. And
Wow.
that wasn't vision. That was me driving through it. It was freaking crazy. So go to my YouTube channel. I'm going to try and help people navigate these crazy waters so you feel sane as the changes and the awareness and the consciousness goes 5D, because 5D can see all the timelines, all of them.
I love all, and these are all really short little videos, interdimensional time, all aboard, navigating hard times together, when the universe uses song. There's a lot of really fun stuff here. So this is, again, her YouTube channel, Oracles and Enchantments. So you can just go to YouTube and it's Oracles and Enchantments. And I'm also putting it into the chat box. Guinevere, you know how much I love you, and stick around for the round table. I see that there's questions coming in for you. So
okay, great.
We have one more psychic to meet, and I'm going to turn it back over to my partner, Alan, to introduce her.
Thank you, Scott. This has been a very interesting, exciting show,
Right.
Because it is who we are. And that's why I'm really happy to introduce my good friend, Henrietta. She's also a contributor to my book there, Making Contact. And her contribution was about her awakening to the fact that there's these other realities. Maybe she already knew it, but more than a psychic, she's an empath and intuitive, and she works with people by feeling into them. And she's a poet, an actress, a performer, a voiceover artist, and she's developing another level of sensitivity, which doesn't put the label psychic, but an all-around developed human being. That's what I would call Henrietta Weeks. So thank you, Henrietta, for joining us.
Thank you, Alan.
Tell us what you've been awakening to in your experience and how this is all unfolding for you.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say I agree with you that it's just been a wonderful show tonight, learning so much from each person. And actually, one of the things that I was thinking the whole time is that, as you know, Alan, the show that Marla, you and I and Darren are doing.
Talk about that, yes.
Yeah, I just want to say that, so it's a show that we've called tentatively Extraordinary Knowing, but we might call it More Than Human. And which I really like that title, because it, what I'm really fascinated in and always have been is our evolution, that we don't even know what we are as humans. And so the evolving mind sort of unfolding that we're all in the process of, that we're all participating in with our little bits. And I was thinking too that this whole forum on the internet. Like, this is just a very recent thing that we all do all the time. And that kind of, you know, that's the physical manifestation of something that we all do. I believe that we're all, you know, right, that we're all capable. That's what we're talking about. We're all capable of actually tuning into each other, whether we're alive here in the physical being or we've already moved on to the non-physical. So that show, I want to, you know, I see myself more, as you say, than a psychic. Like, I like to connect people who are psychics, artists, scientists, biologists, writers, philosophers. That's what I did for many years as a moderator. And on that show, I want to be able to bring people from all walks of life to discuss what we've been discussing tonight, but from very different fields, very different specialists.
Where can we find that show that you're doing with Marla?
Well, we're doing the promotion right now, but I will be posting it on my website, which is The Vine. Let me just write it. It's Scott's just posted it.
Thank you, Scott.
So we'll be putting up the promotional material there. But that's the intention behind that, is to bring humans from all walks of life to be talking specifically about these things. I was very interested in what Kurt Johnson had to say about the scientists now having permission to talk about their spiritual adventures. You know, I'm personally really interested in reaching the skeptics and the people who are just beginning to have these extraordinary experiences, and give them validity. And that's something that Alan kind of, that Alan sort of hipped me to when I met him.
Talk about your process and your awakening to who you really are, or part of who you are with the.
Well, like a lot of people have said on the show tonight, I mean, I had a lot of experience as a young child with, you know, seeing apparitions, ghosts. I had premonition dreaming, and I kind of, like a lot of people say, I mean, I lost that as a teenager, and then went through life, you know, not connected to that. And then round about the time with Alan, I was sort of catapulted back to those abilities. And I think I want to talk about Alan, my recent experience of my best friend passing on August the 1st. So I had a dream the night that she passed, where she came to me and showed me. She was the one that was alive. I knew that she was dying in England, but I had no idea that she was going to die that night. But she was the one in the dream that was alive, and I was the one that experienced death. And just to make it short, because I don't want to go into all the details, it was so I passed into another room, and I realized that I was dead, and she was looking on. And the experience that I had was that that being dead was exactly the same as being alive, but without the physical body. So when I asked a rabbi about this dream, he said to me, well, that wasn't a dream, it was an experience. That's what friends are for. She was a very good friend. She showed you, you know, what that is to cross over. And then sort of since then, I've had a lot of communication with her. She appears to me in physical signs. And so these are the things that I want us to be discussing on the podcast with you, Alan and Marla. And I've also been thinking about the experiences, Alan, that you and I have talked about with the UFOs and these abduction experiences. A lot of people talk about how they will often have, when they see a ship and they experience these beings, they often come with a past relative or a past friend. And a lot of people tonight have talked about, bridges, connectors. I'm really getting the sense of, on the back of what Genevieve was talking about, that these UFOs or abduction experiences are possibly our future selves, that we're sort of learning about ourselves from our future selves, or expressions of futures, of past souls that come back to us in these forms of a UFO or an ET, call it what you will. And that the dead coming with them, that there's a communication, a communion with the departed, with these aspects of mind that we're now experiencing. We're going towards a new human, I think, and we're learning that together. That's what I'm interested in, or that's what I'm seeing is happening. And forums like this, I was thinking the whole, luckily I'm on last. I've been able to really absorb all these different pieces that everyone's been talking about. And yeah, that's Alan, we're going towards new realities, and we're sort of finding our way. We're searching. For myself, I'm getting a lot more communication with those that have passed on previously, with my experiences with UFOs in dreams. I think we learn a lot from the dreaming mind and the waking mind, and also just listening to each other about our experiences. We have this moment where we can finally, through the internet, and also in the pandemic when we were forced to communicate this way, actually sort of experience our shared mind, right?
Yeah, it seems like what you're saying is something gets cracked open, those very narrow conditioning of seeing the world like this, and something just opens. If you're becoming psychic, or like Marla sitting on a bus and suddenly something comes in, or Julie, everyone here, it's real, it's expanded self. I mean, it's expanded of who we are.
Yeah, exactly. In our mind, like if you think about it, actually our friend on the show, who is Marla and I always say, and Alan, I'm sure you agree, Darren Stevenson is a fantastic thinker. And, he often reminds us that, the human mind hasn't been here for that long in the context of biological life and sentient intelligence. So our mind is very new, and it's developing. And I like what Karen said earlier about it being the antennae. And neuroscience is able to look at that and understand it. And for me, I'm learning through my dreams. But there are so many ways that our mind is expanding.
Well, the mind has always, I think, been expanding in a way, but Western culture has made us into very linear. Like if you look at the Aboriginal culture, they're very spiritually aware on so many levels of spirits being all around them, and the Native American.
But I do think that it's been very useful for us in our human evolution to, for the sciences and biology to sort of be able to measure and understand in that way. And now kind of going back to the Aboriginal cultures, etc., to know that we're here as souls first and foremost, right? I was thinking about everyone tonight. I was thinking how fantastic Genevieve looked, and like it's so wonderful how we get to express as souls. And right?
Yeah. Scott, were you going to say something?
Yeah.
Well, I want to, take people to Henrietta's website.
Yes, thank you.
Because it's beautiful. And Henrietta, I'm remembering now when you were on the show before, I remember I was so intrigued by your website because you do so much. Now, of course, you've got a special project coming up on December 15th with that good-looking guy, Alan Steinfeld.
Actually, that was in the past.
That was before.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
I'm updating my website at the moment, but
All
yeah,
right.
that's yeah. One of the things I want to say is that I think that the way we tell our stories, I'm a big, I'm a lover of theatre, poetry, and story, because this is another way that we're evolving to our next, to our next thing, to our next incarnation.
Life is more about poetry than beginning or ending, because what we're seeing, there is no beginning and no end, but it's all poetry. So,
well, yeah, poetry, play, discovery, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
No.
So, Henrietta, is there a way, because since your website's a little not totally up to date, is there a way or something you want for people to know about how they can contact you or what you are most offering?
Yes, thanks, Scott. Well, actually, I was updating the website today, and I'm disappointed to see that it didn't save the changes. But if people go to that website, they can email me from there, but they'll also see the show that we're going to be doing, the roundtable, which we'll talk about.
Okay.
More than human. Yeah. And then what I also want to do is offer the circle of psychics that I work with, over the last years. I've been very close with people like Marla and a whole group of people that Alan also knows, that I would like to, I'd like to foster them all. I'd like to kind of work as their agent, actually, to represent them. Yeah.
Well, that's perfect timing. I'm going to bring Marla back on, and I'm going to bring all of our psychics back on, and we're going to evolve into the next part of our show, which is the roundtable. So here's Julie, and here's Krista, and here's Marla. Let me find Guinevere. Guinevere, are you still with us? Guinevere, come back.
I'm here. I'm here. See, here I am.
I'm looking. Oh, there she is. Okay, great. There's a lot of people here. So, all right, wonderful. So, this is kind of our little psychic roundtable. And I know Krista has collected some amazing questions that we're going to respond to. But I want to start by just showing the second half of that beautiful video from John Martin. This is where to kind of help us transition, because his music, his voice is so like, right? So we're going to watch the second half of his video and then take the questions that Krista's collected from our audience, and also any responses you have as psychics, as intuitives, watching this video from John. So,
and also, Scott, I'm wondering if there's any questions the psychics have amongst each other, from each other.
Great idea.
Addition.
Great idea. We'll be here till 10 o'clock, but that's okay. All right. Here we go. Let's go to John's video.
Absolutely incredible. Absolutely awesome. Here's my friend. Hey, beautiful one. Oh, my gorgeous friend. You are so awesome. So great to see you tonight, sweet friend. Hey, how are you, brother? Oh, how wonderfully done. You could be sisters. Well, love you. That was perfect. Thank you so much. Awesomely done. You are so cool. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Wow.
That's a real thing there.
Yeah.
You're so incredible. How wonderfully done, beautiful one. How absolutely incredible you are. You are just absolutely fantastic. Thank you for that. Ooh, nice turn. Beautifully done. Wow. Beautifully done. Coming this way now. Wow. So beautifully done, friend. Gorgeous. Look at this. I love it. friends. Hey, beautiful ones. Hey, my gorgeous ones. Hey, dear friends. Hey, lovelies. Oh, it's so wonderful to see you tonight. Thank you. Thank you, gorgeous one. Oh, my goodness. Beautifully done. Beautifully done, sweet friends. Thank you. Thank you for that. So well done.
Wow.
Thank you, lovelies.
Wow.
Hey. Hey. You're always a part of this, aren't you, dear one? You're magnificent, just like all of my other beautiful friends. How gorgeous. Forgive me for steering away, dear friend. I have to look at my dear friend here. Can you turn? Yes, you can. Wow. You are super moving. Can you turn again? Yes. Wow. Amazing. There's my friend. Hey, beautiful one. You are so great. I was talking about you. Hey, loveless. Hey, my dear sweetheart. So wonderful to see you tonight. Thank you. It's so amazing how you're able to do that.
I'm going to pause it just because this is a long video and we'll show the very end of it at the end. But I know that some of you it is getting late for some of you. And I do want to get to all the questions, including Ellen's idea of questions with each other. But first, what comes up for some of you as you watch and listen to John? Anything anybody want to share?
I'd love to. His idea of introducing oneself to the universe, I think, is just a revolutionary idea. I mean, I'm communicating with all these different parts of the universe, but I am doing it kind of one at a time and diving into places. And I love the idea of just introducing yourself and the things you're passionate about. I'm going to take that forward, and the gentleness, the appreciation, and the relationship that he has with these beings. I mean, it's third eye opening, it's heart opening. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Anybody
I would
else?
just comment that it just makes contact feel so safe and loving.
Yes.
Where there's a lot of fear, I think, in the programming around that. And so, like I said in the comments earlier, his voice is so soothing and just so complimentary, and just, I mean, it just makes you want to be there with him, calling it in and just looking up at the awe of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He has a warm bath, Diara comments. I love it.
That's exactly what I was thinking about, the warm bath. That's exactly what I was channeling earlier. It's exactly that. And I love how he just talks to them so normally. He calls them their friends and gorgeous. It's just this normalizing the communication that we have. It's so beautiful and lovely. And it reminds me also, I was getting that My Octopus Teacher, that film, like how we was immersed in the underworld there with the, it's very similar energy there. And it was just this warmth is just so enticing, and I think so well needed for the communication to continue to flow. And it's just being that wonderful host, just like Scott, like you're a great host of the show. We can all do that. The more we do that, the more we can have, more downloads and more, expanded experiences, and more people can benefit from the wisdom, because there's so much to learn. There's so much that they want to share, and we just need to open up. And I mean, it's such a beautiful experience. So, John, wow. Very, very cool.
It's love. He's emanating love. So he's pulling that in, and these things are showing up. They're coming to him.
And that thing of really genuinely asking and of yearning for communion, right? Which is what recently I just read Whitley Strieber's book about his connection with his departed wife. And she's been saying to him, we're here, but nobody's asking, nobody's listening. So that thing of we have to ask, reach out, keep asking the questions, but as Alan says, with this sort of loving generosity, this desire, you know, that takes us forward.
I couldn't
Speaking
agree
of
more.
questions, Krista, I think you've collected some for us.
I have, and there's just one that Laura put in the chat just about this topic. So I thought we should maybe address that first, and then we can go back to some that came in earlier in the call. So Laura's question, and I know that John isn't here, but let's see if anyone else can answer this. Is anyone seeing the more sedentary blinking UFOs that move through the sky at the speed of stars? They're more static, but the lights are blinking rapidly with many colors so that the ships kind of shimmer in the sky. So has anyone else experienced that? I'd love to. Okay, Guinevere, let's go ahead and have you come off mute.
Okay, yeah, I have a long history of seeing them. Very, very beautiful and very, very close too. Like one of the closest crafts I ever saw was about 15 feet over my head.
Wow.
And it was truly beautiful. It had so many actual lights going, and then it shot like a shooting star. So, and by the way, I was in my hot tub, so I was having the time of my life. So I'm just in my hot tub staring at this UFO going, what the? Because it was so close. And it didn't even push wind or even heat toward me when it finally shot like a shooting star. So yeah, I have seen the really brilliant ones that have multiple lights going. And I've seen, I think, at least 15 different forms of craft since I was young.
But are any of the psychics getting a communication from the beings from the craft? Are you getting any
Oh, yeah,
down?
for sure. Oh,
Like
yeah,
what?
absolutely.
You
I
getting?
think the best communication I was ever given specifically was from a whole civilization that started its relationship here with the Dogon tribe in Africa. And they told the Dogon tribe where they came from. They actually painted it inside of their cave paintings. And now in the now they've found those, and they see that it's a dedicated scroll of the stars that you can't see with your naked eye. So when I've spoken to them, they said that their relationship isn't just with us. They said they have an intimate relationship with the consciousness of planets, and that the planet we're on right now is this incredible beauty, an incredible jewel worthy of being loved and taken very good care of. And so they've been coming frequently because she sent out signals of distress. So they're trying to help people become more consciousness. They're trying to raise consciousness per person so that we take on our roles as caretakers of this beautiful being that we get to be part of in this macro relationship with the micro and the macro. Like, we are her cell structures, we are her helpers, and she's our helper, or we wouldn't even be here. So they're really wonderful, and they're related to octopus. Yes.
The ETs are related to octopus? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they are. They said that the octopi of the planet are their unevolved distant relatives. So they said that each of us gets to choose when we're ready to physically evolve a form. And so they're the physically evolved form of those beings that are still super smart, having a wonderful time, probably interdimensionally dreaming on this planet, trying to set great vibrations. But they said that that's their relatives. So it's really cool to have that conversation.
Wow. Right.
Wow, fascinating. Thank you so much, Guinevere.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a question also that's just come in that also relates to something that Susan brought in early in the call. She was asking if we can get messages from animals, and could we speak to the interdimensional communication with the beings in the trees, animals, crystals, fish, etc. in form. And I did answer that as well, because yes, I can communicate. I believe all of us here probably have that ability that have spoken tonight. And I know that some people have different specialties and just areas that they're really called to work. Some are specifically with animals. I have a friend in San Diego that's all she does when a pet goes missing, or it's crossing over, or it has, bringing in that message. So would anyone else like to raise their hand and speak to that about connecting with the trees and in nature?
Yeah, Julie, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll make it very quick.
Okay, Marla. Yeah.
Energy is information, and everything has energy. Therefore, we can communicate with anything. All we have to do is focus and tune in, and then be open to what happens. So animals are very easy to talk to, trees, plants, anything that carries energy, which frankly is everything in our whole world and beyond. Right?
Yeah, Julie, what about you?
Yeah, well, the trees, specifically, I mean, I live in Mill Valley where we just have these redwoods, and they're just so healing. I mean, I always say I've never met a tree I didn't like, even when I was in New York, and the little tiny ones that'll grow out, with the gate around it and stuff. They're just such friendly, amazing beings. And, my psychic abilities really, went on to a whole new level when I moved up here during COVID, during lockdown from Los Angeles to Mill Valley. And I spent so much time out in the middle of the woods here in the forest. Scott, you guys know the area, how magical it is. And it really just opened me up even further. So I highly encourage people who want to develop their psychic abilities, which I'm sure there's some questions about that, go into nature. Absolutely. Sit, on a rock in the middle of a forest or the woods, wherever you can go, the ocean. So powerful that we just have to heal because they cleanse us, the trees and the ocean, we release all of the, the things that are in the way. I often talk a lot about like the metaphor of the David, the fabulous sculpture in Florence. And Michelangelo said about the David already existed. He just had to get rid of all of the marble that was in the way. Like that wasn't David. Such a metaphor, right? Such a powerful metaphor of what we have to do. And nature heals us. It cleans our energy, especially the trees. So it's my number one tip to help develop people or to calm your energy when you're feeling anxious is to do that. And there's just such beautiful communication, especially with the trees underground. And there's so many, books written about this, how they, they speak to each other. And it's just, it's a beautiful area to explore. That's a little bit more grounded than some of the other, ways that people are having trouble connecting. It's a great place to start.
Great. Henrietta, you were going to say
Yeah,
something?
well, I was just going to
Thank
say,
you.
thank you, Julie. But, more, maybe not more than that, but another way of looking at it is that, we're actually part of nature. We're not separate from, we're embedded in it. So, and we're the kind of newbies on the block. And so the way I look at it is that trees, birds, insects, the whole, all of life has so much more to teach me. And if I'm not listening, looking, being a part of, then we're missing out on a huge part of what we can be learning.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. Scott, there's just a couple other ones that I think we can, and this one I think is a really important one for our audience tonight. This was coming in from Laura to Marla when Marla came in right at the beginning of the call. How do you know it is psychic info or just imagination? And Janice asked later too, I hope someone will talk about developing your discernment skills of knowing when that's really something that's coming in from the higher realms, or it's an opinion or imagination. So Marla, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll try to answer that quickly. I love these questions. Practice is one thing, and knowing, not knowing, sense of knowing, but if we understand that a psychic experience can be the tiniest, softest, sort of most amorphous thing into, and also a giant earth-shaking experience for us. One thing that really, really helps, honestly, is just keep practicing. And you begin to, for example, I'm just going to talk about knowing again, if you don't mind. Everybody says this about the sense of knowing. I know it, but I don't know how I know it. That is one way to identify the sense of knowing. So practice.
I couldn't agree more. And I know for me, as I receive information, sometimes somebody talked about language. Was that you, Marla? Or was that Julie? Julie.
Julie.
Yeah.
Julie.
So when I get information, sometimes I can't even put it into words because it's coming through so fast. And so that's also when I know it's coming through and it's not of me, it's coming through from that other realm. So that's an easy way for me to, oh, wow, okay,
Yes.
this is happening. and it's flowing now.
Mm.
Yeah. So this question is a really good one too, that I think is just a really awesome foundational question for somebody who's exploring, working with a psychic or a medium. Laura came in and asked, are there really dark or disembodied entities that can connect to our internal organs or our body and cling to us, sucking out energy? If so, how do you know and what to do? So that was a general question, not direct to anyone. So go ahead and raise your hand if you want to answer that or have a good answer to bring some clarity around this.
I think there seems to be, if I'm around some negative people and I feel like stuff's sticking to me, it's like having a psychic cold, I compare it to. It's like I smudge, I white sage, because you can feel these energies and maybe they're not dark, but they're energies that just don't rub me the right way. And so you can feel it. It's like sometimes it's a stomach, hits me, it hits you in different places, or you just feel the stuff glum onto you, and it's not imaginary because I can feel it from different people, and you just have to clean it, take a bath, I brush yourself like this, or have someone else brush your body, or white sage. I find white sage better than any other thing, is a great energetic cleanser. So yeah, that's what I have to say. Does anyone else feel that way? Julie, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, protecting your energy always before reading, I'm not a big like ritual ceremony gal. I just kind of jump right into it. But I still have to remind myself of like still, protecting yourself. So you prayer, all of these things. So when you channel, I also think the more you cleanse your own energies in your past, a lot of, clearing out and healing the past, there's nothing for it to really attach to, so the more you're a clean vessel, that's why like continuing to heal your own energy and as psychics, as readers, as teachers, it's incumbent upon us to keep our energy clear, to be a clear channel, a clear vessel. So the self-love, the self-work, all of that, that's your job. That's my job. It's just to stay clear. And then, then there you go. So it's not just a one-time thing. It's daily. Every day we have to do things. Baths are great detoxing baths, just keeping our diet clean, exercising, purifying. It's all about purity, at least for me anyways, is I just like bow to the purity, and all its beauty is really what I strive for, the most. And I think that helps me, personally keep anything too dark, away.
Hey, Guinevere, I'm curious what you might have to say about that, because you do a lot of psychic work.
Okay, well, sure. What I've learned is that all the negative entities that exist are unresolved pain, unresolved shadow work, unresolved emotions, and they become a form. They literally seek their healing in the people who have the same wound, right? So it's like a shadow version of all of us. We're the demons. You see what I'm saying? So if a shadow form of you finds you, right, to seek resolution, because now you're the light, your light is going to draw them. Your cleansing also cleanses them. So it becomes this copacetic energy where, yeah, sure, we're smudging, sure, we're brushing, right? Sure, we're singing sacred songs or doing ceremony or what have you, but you are quite literally and legitimately healing the force that's seeking you as well. And for people who are uninitiated, they don't know how, because it's found their pain. The shadow has found the match, right? Like the soulmate match to the pain. So it can get lodged or stuck. It sought the anger or the sadness or the trauma to try and find a way through them to finally get resolved. So when they seek help to go to other healers, then again, we're back to, yes, it gets resolved. So it's interesting because I don't like to vilify shadow beings or what people would call demonic entities, because that continues the trend of vilifying, right? It continues to create power around that darkness rather than the Kuan Yin approach of dropping compassion through your vessel, your heart, into the mouth of the waiting dragon so it can evolve too. All of us can have bliss, regardless of whether it's a shadow form, a past form, a future form. All of us have experienced extraordinary actual world physical pain and attacks from other people. And then that has to be resolved sometime at some point, but sometimes we can go a whole lifetime without ever touching it because it was too painful. So it will follow, right? Because it will get resolved. Nothing at the end of the story, it goes unresolved, which is the beauty, which is why I love Kuan Yin as the example.
Thank you. That's great.
Thank you so much. We have one last question, and this one is directed for Julie. It came in from Noelle, so I'm just going to read it off my notes here. She asked for a little clarity, Julie, about the message about letting go and not fighting. It wasn't clear to her. So could you provide a little more explanation? Because we certainly are not wanting to let go and allow deforestation and allow, voting rights to be diminished or allow Ukraine to be invaded, right? So could you just embellish a little bit more on that topic?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we talked about the bridge a lot tonight, and everybody kind of has a different place, within creating, these connections between higher realms and the third dimension, right? So everyone has a role, and some people are, the past is important. It's different for everybody. You have to kind of find your own way. That's why mission-based work is so important. That's my main thing, is just to help people find their mission. If it's your mission to help do all these things, great. That's amazing. So there's no wrong answers. There's no wrong way of doing it. I think it's about your intention and what we're trying to create. And as long as we're working together to help, create, the new earth is really what we're doing. I think that's what's important, and so however you choose to do that, that's your own thing, and it's different for everybody. And I think tonight is just such an amazing example of all the different parts. There's just so many ways that you can contribute, and as long as your intention is pure and you're looking to create, a better place for all, and there's kindness and love, then that's what you do. So there's no right or wrong way to do any of it. I don't think. There's just different perspectives, right? Like we all have, and it's just a kaleidoscope of, different ways of kind of seeing things. And that's why there's no one reader or healer. There's we all are necessary because we all bring a unique perspective. And I think that's what's so important. And finding someone to work with you who you resonate with, right? That's super important. And I love, it was I don't know, I'm sorry, which one of you is the agent for psychic. I think that's so brilliant. We need to connect, right? That is such a great job. That's a new thing. Who else is doing that? That's brilliant to find. And that's what Soul Search does too with Tangela. I know she came on, and I know she probably wants to say hi too, but Soul Search, such a great organization for connecting, people with healers and guides and teachers. So these networks, Scott, what you do, Alan, what you do, so awesome and exciting. And that's the stuff that gets me excited too, because so many people can find what it is, and we just are all part of the conversation.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Julie, for introducing Tangela, because she's been patiently waiting. We're going to get back. There's one last question. We're going to get to Doreena's question in a moment. But the great Tangela is with us, and all hail. We love Tangela. She's certainly one of our favorite people in Global Peace Tribe. And have you been enjoying what you've seen so far, Tangela?
I have, Scott. I just want to say hi to everyone. Hi to everyone watching. It's great to be here. And hi, Julie. And thank you for your mentioning Soul Search. And I just have to say that, I'm loving this topic tonight because Soul Search, we held a psychic and healing fair just last weekend in San Rafael with several hundred people. And Julie was one of our psychics there giving a great talk. And Scott was there, not as a psychic, but as the intuitive healer.
Or as a psychiatrist.
So, but exactly, when you guys are saying,
I was on more of the psychotic side.
So when you guys are talking about multidimensional going mainstream, that's exactly what we're doing here together, all of us. The psychic fair is just one of the many events that we have through Soul Search. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Soul Search is an online global platform for spirituality and consciousness. And it's really a multidimensional community. where, we have all types of healers, teachers, guides, who work with all different types of modalities. Love coach Scott Katamas, galactic UFO expert Alan Steinfeld, epigenetics expert over here, Krista Maria Collins, and so many more. So many of you guys have got a chance to meet a lot of our amazing Soul Search team, but really, all of us are part, by being part of a multidimensional community where we're openly able to share and speak about our experiences, it helps every single one of us become more brave in stepping into these gifts and intuitive abilities we all have. Because in the end, as you guys have been saying, all of us have them. It's just that we've been told we don't.
Well, that's what's so great about what you're doing, Tangela. You're creating a kind of sacred bridge to all of life, to realize that we are these divine beings and we can form these communities and get rid of the old programming and relate differently to the nature of reality.
Exactly.
Yes, Scott.
Yeah, well, no, Tangela is like taking, we're all playing our role in building this global, I call it the global peace tribe, but through New Realities and Alan's work, and what she's created with Soul Search is the next level of how we stay in contact and connection with each other. And she's going to be at the big retreat that we're doing in Sedona in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, we'll be in Sedona, which is going to be amazing. But she's also got something else that I want everybody to know about. And that is the Ascension of the Soul. It's a 2-day online summit. And look at all the people who are going to be part of it. And almost every one of these people has been on the Awakening World. And I know, Alan, you know many of these people as well. Our favorite astrologer, Raquel Spring, Krista, who's with us today, Deborah Giusti, and on and on and on. It's going to be an amazing 2-day summit all about ascension. So tell us a little bit more about it, Tangela.
Sure. Thanks. And so exactly, this is one of our many events that we are doing. And the Ascension of the Soul Summit is a 2-day online summit where we are coming together. Scott, you're on there. Alan, you're a part of it as well. Krista, to really speak about the ascension of the soul and what that means from so many different aspects, which is amazing. Scott, you're speaking about what does ascension mean for our animal human bodies, and how do we look at ascension from that perspective? Raquel is looking at ascension from an astrological perspective. Melissa Fike is speaking about it from the Akashic records, looking into the Akash. We have Deva Vidya speaking about the dark night of the soul. So we have so many different aspects of awakening, of us coming into more of who we are, remembering more of who we are from so many different perspectives. For each of us, it's such a unique journey with so many twists and turns. So, I think a lot of times people can get frustrated because they listen to one person or read one book and they think, this is supposed to be some sort of linear process for me. I don't resonate with this, or why am I not going where that person is going? Why am I not having like this specific Kundalini awakening experience? And I think, we've been doing an Ascension interview series with all of our speakers this whole month and last month with Alan, Neil Gar, and Joan Angels, interviewing all of our speakers. And what's been amazing, and I know, Alan, you could probably comment, is just how different everyone's awakening experience is. We have like some people will be like, Suzanne Ross was like, I just went to a mountain and spirit filled me and came to me and I just became a different person, which is incredible. And, India Prema was like, I went through a 10-year dark night of the soul, dealing with, crises after crises after crises. And so we have so much to learn from each person's experience and each person's modality. So I think this whole weekend, downloads from 25 different ascension experts and speakers giving their own perspective on what ascension of the soul means to them, as well as practices to be doing to continue moving forward through this process. So it's going to be a really great weekend. I invite all of you to come join us and participate with us. on the weekend, and Scott will be there, Alan will be there, so we're really excited about it. And I know we also had a question come in from Laura. She asked me, are any of the talks by the psychics from last weekend online? And unfortunately we did not film. I think Julie actually filmed a little bit of hers, so she is going to share a little bit of that with us. And I know that so yeah, I think Julie, if you want to just chat about what you spoke about and your experience there, that would be great.
It was so much fun. And I gave a talk called Opening to Your Magnificence, which was about, this flower, this new opening, this new wave of awakenings that's happening. And, it's so interesting how things, like, you can't really prepare for these things. So many things just like happen immediately on the fly. And that's why, programs like this were very fluid. We have to be really adaptable, right? Because I thought it was going to be turned into something else. And it was much more interactive than I thought. And it just flowed. And I mean, we could have been there for like 8 days, talking about, it was so much fun. So it's like, it's so important to go to these things. And I love the in real life experience too. There's nothing like going to a retreat. I mean, online is fantastic, but when you can go in person, there's something about that people, that just feels so good, when they can see you and touch you and feel you and all of that. It's very, very special. So it was great to be there. I can't wait to do more of those. And yes, just fun. And
Tangela, you are the most fun out of the Soul Search.
That's true. She is so much fun.
Joy. And it's like, who doesn't want to be part of this club that you're creating? It is fun. Look at you. You're just like emanating joy.
And she's always like this. Always. She's one of those people who's always like that. So again, just want to remind people, it's all about going to Soul Search. And if you go to soulsearch.io, hopefully everybody by now has joined as a member. But if you haven't joined yet, definitely join. I just put into the chat box how to do that. And this is where you'll find, just go to events. And this is, of course, the Ascension of the Soul Conference, October 29 to 30. So 2 weeks from now, we're going to all be in Sedona together. Those of you who can't make it, we're going to live stream it out. That'll be what we're doing for the Awakening World that weekend. And then the following weekend is the Ascension of the Soul online with all of your favorite people that you've seen on the Awakening World, including our dear Krista. I'm going to bring Krista back on because Krista, you also, what are you going to be talking about that weekend?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm so excited just to be there and to meet everyone for just starters, because we've been here connecting week by week, every week, and it's been so exciting. So I'm glad that we're all coming together, but I will be bringing all my work around ancestral healing, DNA activation, and any psychic medium work anyone would like to experience. We can play and just do mini sessions and just enjoy each other's company and see what comes through from spirit. So that's what my plans are.
Great, great, beautiful. All right, well, I'm going to bring all of our friends on one last time so we can kind of appreciate them. And then we're going to go to Omashar for a closing song. But there's Marla, there's Henrietta, and I think, and Guinevere. There's Guinevere. Okay.
Can we just see if any of these psychics have any comments on each other's technique or anything you want to say to each other to converse? Is there, or not?
And Krista, I know there was a question that Dorina had asked.
Oh, and Henrietta, did you want to say something? Henrietta?
I just wanted to say that I learned so much from, listening to everybody tonight. And, I'm learning personally with Marla. I'm her apprentice. But anyway, these coming together of people who do sort of very, have different tuning mechanisms. It's very interesting to hear everybody's process. Because and all human minds can do this. It's just that this particular group of people are a little more, tuned in, should we say. But, thanks to everybody for sharing your particular technique. Yeah. Very helpful.
Beautiful. And I was just looking, we still have 51 people here in our Zoom room, not to mention how many people are watching live. So I know that this tribe is so connected, and this has been such an incredible topic that you brought, Scott and Alan. And Let's go ahead to Doreena's question. I just want to make sure everyone's questions are answered, and then we will go ahead and wrap to Om Ashar so we can close our evening. So Dorina brought the question. It wasn't directed to any particular participant tonight. It seems that there is an overemphasis to bring and remember mostly the ancestral traumas, the pains and wounds of the past, and much less so the happy parts, the wisdom, the lessons, the joyous traditions that might be even more important gifts for us, if and when we are open to receive them. And just as I read that, I was remembering, Scott, how you always say when we talk about our ancestors to thank them and to give gratitude for what they have gone through before us so that we can have this life. So Dorina, this is really a beautiful opening to your question. So the question, as she asks, is as you share your amazing psychic and healing experiences, do you see a shift toward appreciation of the gifts and joys from the past that may help heal and empower us even more? And I know for me, I just have a full body yes on that, but I'd love to see if one of our psychics here tonight would like to answer that question.
I think we are shifting. Oh, sorry, Guinevere, go ahead. I think we are shifting into joy of life and all our lives and all of life. I think this is our next stage, and I'm telling you, I'm so excited about it. That's all I really wanted to say. I think there's a huge shift. I think a lot of us have done our homework and spiritual homework, psychological homework, emotional homework, whatever. But, you know, each one of us that does that, and I know Guinevere would agree, we help others to do it, whether we know it or don't know it, because we're emanating and radiating all the time. So I think we're getting ready as a collective to move into joy.
Thank you so much. And then who else wanted to answer that?
I did.
Go ahead, Guinevere.
So what she was saying about like the ancestral trauma and the negative, what I've noticed, sorry, my dog's all worked up. What I've noticed is that they're tag teaming. I've never seen so many very wide awake ancestors as now. So their desire to see us evolve and transform and release the past for real, once and for all, letting go of all these bad practices and all these different traumas, is all the ones that were, you know, helping out and great educators, very deeply spiritual, connected to the land. They're surging forward in such a beautiful embrace. And all the ones that made mistakes and felt unresolved and felt like nobody loved them, so then they did bad things to each other, they're coming for their ceremonial healing too. So it's a beautiful energy that's taking place where the surge is from both sides, and it's for good on both sides. So the trauma gets the healing it deserves, and we also get the gifts and the blessings from those ancestors who sometimes did things a little bit better than us.
Yeah. Krista, I also want to just jump in saying our natural state is joy and love. That's our pure essence. So if there's like a cloud over the sun, it's like, come on, let's clear it up because we want to shine. And that's why maybe there's a little focus on that, because we know it's our natural state and we're here to clear it all so we can all shine with joy, because that's what we're doing anyway. The sun's still shining even with the clouds. So let's clear all that and live in joy that we are. We've incarnated to be. So that's what I feel.
I love that, Alan. And I'm a big believer in gratitude as a religion. If I had a religion, it's gratitude. But I do also want to acknowledge that there is obviously a lot of suffering in the world. And yes, on one level, there's the illusion of all of it, but it's so important for us to have compassion. And Laura just wrote, you all have to understand that you live in California, although actually only a couple of us do. Actually, I think Julie and I are the only ones in California of the panel today. But she says there's not so much joy on the streets of Chicago. Some, yes, but not quite what's happening in California. So, you know, it is important for us when we're in a chapter of our life where we're embracing joy, when we are feeling the support or the connection, whether it's to our human family or our galactic family, to be joyful, But it is also important for us to recognize that there is very, very real suffering going on in the world.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
you know, and of course, to have compassion and recognize that all of us have gone through chapters of suffering, and there are also chapters of joyfulness. And then in every single day, as Marshall Rosenberg used to teach me, he said, you know, every day, find things to celebrate and find things to mourn. Every day we have needs that are met, and every day we have needs that are not met. And to lead a balanced life includes acknowledging both sides. And some of us tend to be just on the happy side, and some of us tend to be on the sad side, and that's okay. But if we can find that balance of, wow, which of my needs were met today, and which of my needs were not met today, it's a wonderful way to create some balance there.
Thank you, Scott. Beautiful. That's why you're the love coach.
Well, I want to thank my dad. My dad taught me a beautiful thing. He said, you know, son, when you go to a party, there's going to be all the popular kids, and they'll all be together. Find the person who's standing by themselves. Find the person who's not with the popular kids.
Yes.
And go up to that person and say, hi, I'm Scott Thomas. And, you know, thank you, Dad, for teaching me that. And I always try to remember that and acknowledge that, especially when, you know, when we're in a workshop or in a time and the energy is really up, there's somebody that the energy's down, and I don't want them to feel more crappy about themselves because they're not in that moment of joyfulness. So thank you, Dad.
Beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody that tomorrow is our Sacred Sunday show, and Krista will be back with us, so I'm excited about that. And we're going to have some of the people that are coming to our retreat in Sedona, and it's a chance to meet some of them. Connie and Andrew are two of our favorites who are regulars with Global Peace Tribe. This amazing woman named Wowza. You'll think she's in her 50s. She's in her mid-80s, and she's all about energy and life. Luana Joy Lucia, and our Wild Abbot. We had the poster made before Jerry Anderson agreed to be on with us. The Wild Abbot of the Mystic Monastery, Jerry Anderson's going to be with us tomorrow. And maybe, who knows, maybe Tangela will drop in, maybe Alan will drop in. It's going to be one of those kinds of shows. So definitely make sure you join us. But you know who will definitely be there is Omashar, because God bless him. Omashar is almost always there providing support for me.
Yes, Goddess has blessed me, and I want to thank you, Scott, and all of us tonight for such a feast. What a lot to integrate. I am even more expanded than I already was. And this song here to close us out is called Welcome Home, and it's brand new from my upcoming album Lightness of Being. It was debuted this morning on Scott's Satsang show. It's still a work in process, but you can, you know, give me markers at the end of it as to how you like it, or you can tell me how to shape it up. So here we go.
Remember, everybody, dance to it, move to it, so I can pop the camera on ya. Thanks, sweetie.
Let me shine a light inside, and I'll show you where your truth resides. So lift your eyes up to the skies, and I'll prove to you that nothing dies. Together Together we will rise again and make amends for what we've done. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. I'll welcome you home. So let me take your hands in mine. As I look at you, your spirit shines. You see, it's true that we are one. When we came out from the central sun, I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So when you take a different view and you dream awake, breathe in the new. The world will come alive again as we dance and sing and make new friends. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. Welcome you home. Welcome home.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's all twinkle, beloved Omashar. Look at all of our beautiful family that's got their camera on. Our beautiful Global Peace Tribe still with us.
Well, we can see even those who haven't got the cameras on now.
Right. That's right. Thank you, Omashar. Hey, one last thought. Darina in Ecuador pointed out that we were talking about octopus, and today she always tracks what it's National Taco Day, whatever it is. Today is National Octopus Day. And this isn't that amazing, Julie? And this is one of Darina's artworks. She created this. She does beautiful artwork. Wow. So there we go. All hail. We celebrate our octopus teachers and those aliens in the ocean that we call octopi. I'm going to go to Gallery View for one last time for us all. Say goodbye to each other for tonight. Hope to see you all tomorrow morning. Hope to see a lot of you in Sedona for our retreat in 2 weeks. And Mark Janisowski is going to be there. I just see Mark. He's going to be playing accordion for us in Sedona. So thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful evening, and we'll look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks
it was
so
a lot of
much.
fun.
Yeah. both Scott and Alan, thanks so much for putting this together. And
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Alan.
may we have more.
Another good one. Alan and I do well together.
You
We'll
do.
do more, Scott. We'll do more. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone. It was really like a beautiful soup, mixing it all together and so tasty. So thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.